Chapter 160. After Yang Wu took the bone revitalization pill, he returned to the camp once again. This time, he brought Little Hay and Cheap Bone with him. With his current strength, no one would dare to say anything if he had a mount. As for Little Hay, she had always been ignored by others, so he was even more at ease. Cheap Bone's fur had grown out a little, allowing people to see that it was a fire cloud tiger. At least, it was much better than its original bald appearance. Yang Wu rode it back, which made many people envious. Which soldier didn't want to have their own unique mount? That way they would be able to gallop better on the battlefield. Yang Wu rode Cheap Bone back, which suited his current status as a deputy commander. Moreover, he had already shocked the army with a single brilliant feat. He really needed a mount that matched his status. Cheap Bone was a top-grade demonic beast. When it walked, it released a dense demonic chi. Everyone could feel that it was a top-grade demonic beast. After Yang Wu returned, he directly went to look for Li Dazue. After Li Dazue ate the healing pill, he had recovered quite a bit. However, his leg was broken, so his spirit was definitely not as good as before. Deputy Commander Li, take this bone revitalization pill. It can heal your broken leg. After Yang Wu saw Li Dazue, he went straight to the point. Li Dazue's face showed some excitement. Can it really be cured? Take it first, Yang Wu said as he handed the pill to Li Dazue. Li Dazue didn't hesitate at all. He directly threw the pill into his mouth. Very quickly, the medicinal effect took effect in his body. His face lit up with joy. He immediately closed his eyes, formed a seal with his hands, and began to refine the pill's power. Yang Wu said to the subordinate guarding here, "Guard Deputy Commander Li well." "Yes, Commander." The subordinate immediately replied respectfully. Yang Wu didn't stay too long at Li Dazue's place. He quickly returned to his own tent. After Yang Wu returned to the camp, he entered a state of closed-door cultivation. He wanted to break through to the general realm as soon as possible. He had a premonition of crisis. If he did not break through as soon as possible, he was afraid that he would not have an easy time. Yang Wu let Huang Mogai and Huang Minjing protect him while he wholeheartedly immersed himself in refining the profound spirit stone. After 5 days, Yang Wu refined a total of 100 profound spirit stones and finally opened up 715 apertures. He was only 5 more apertures away from fully connecting his entire body. However, the remaining 5 acupoints were incomparably difficult to open. Yang Wu had already gathered some strength and launched wave after wave of attacks, but he was still unable to shake the 5 acupoints, which made him feel somewhat discouraged. This wasn't because he didn't have enough strength, but because these 5 acupoints were extremely hidden and difficult to break through. They were the final hurdles. "I don't believe that I can't open them." "Go for it," Yang Wu roared in his heart. He kept compressing the strength in his dantian and then unleashed it in one go. The majestic strength swept through the meridians and acupoints all over his body like a flood. Many acupoints flickered and spun rapidly like stars. They were so vast and dazzling. Puff! Yang Wu still couldn't open up the last acupoint. He was even hit by the backlash of the strength he had forcefully unleashed. He spat out a mouthful of blood. It was also at this moment that Little Hay transmitted a message. "Someone is here to assassinate you. You'd better watch out." Little Hay was hiding in the dark. No one could discover its existence at all. Yang Wu's hair stood on end. To be able to avoid his senses, as well as those of Huang Mogai and Huang Minjing, the intruder was probably extraordinary. Yang Wu had just activated the power of the divine quartz senses when he sensed a weak beam of light stabbing at the back of his head. In an instant it had arrived at the back of his head. Yang Wu didn't even think about it. He tilted his head and fell to the side. The sword light brushed past his face by a hair's breadth. The ambusher hadn't expected that his carefully prepared attack would miss, but he didn't panic. He immediately came back to his senses and slashed his sword at Yang Wu's neck. The sword light was cold and the sword chi was sharp. The power of this attack was infinitely close to that of a king's attack. It belonged to an expert who was half a step into the king's realm. It gave Yang Wu immense pressure. Yang Wu had already fallen to the ground. He had just been injured by the backlash, so his reactions were much slower than usual. However, at this moment, he didn't have much time to think. Relying on an instinctive resistance in the face of the threat of death, his divine court's spiritual power surged. The power of the bloodline in his body instantly surged and gathered everything he had. The 1,000 acupoints in his peach pit dantian erupted with primordial chi essence. The last 5 acupoints above his head were completely opened with the combination of this power and spiritual power. With the support of the bloodline power, they were completely opened up. Boom! After Yang Wu opened up these 5 acupoints, the 720 acupoints flickered at the same time, forming a terrifying circulation force with the 12 main meridians and the 6 extraordinary meridians. Celestial chi was like a flood breaking through a dam, constantly attacking every part of his body. The other 2 extraordinary meridians were instantly broken through by this power. The 8 extraordinary meridians were all connected. The celestial chi in his meridians surged like arrows, and the internal acupoints of his acupoints liquefied like stars. This time, the celestial chi in Yang Wu's body truly formed an endless circulation. An incomparably powerful force spread throughout his body, and a strong vitality filled every part of his skin, flesh, internal organs, and bones. This was a qualitative change. Only then could the foundation of his body of martial arts be completely formed. Generally, warriors would begin to condense Xian armor after opening up the 365 acupoints and break through to the general realm. It was rare to see people like Yang Wu, who had opened up the 720 acupoints to reach the perfect foundation and then break through to the general realm. Yang Wu's Xian armor automatically formed. The Xian armor, which was 2 or 3 times thicker than before, was dazzling. The attacker's sword slashed at it. Clang! 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 A crisp sound rang out. Sparks flew in all directions, but the Xian armor was not damaged at all. How is this possible? The attacker cried out in alarm. Yang Wu, on the other hand, exploded at this moment. His fist, which contained incomparable rage, directly smashed towards the face of the sneak attacker. The attacker felt a strong sense of threat. He retreated, wanting to escape the scene as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Yang Wu's punch had activated the fighting spirit in his bloodline. His combat strength had directly soared to an extremely terrifying level. The speed of his punch had already reached an unimaginable level. No! The attacker realized that Yang Wu's punch had arrived in front of his face in an instant. The defensive Xian armor on his body had not fully formed yet. He cried out in alarm with an extremely frightened expression. However, no matter how he cried out, he could not change his fate of being hit by this punch. Bang! The attacker's head was directly smashed into pieces. Blood gushed out from his neck. It was truly disgusting. At this time, Huang Mogai and Huang Minjing, who were outside the tent, rushed in at the same time. When they saw the decapitated corpse on the ground, they asked involuntarily, "Commander, are you all right?" Yang Wu waved his hand and said, "I'm fine. Carry him out immediately and find out his identity." "Yes, Commander." They did not have the time to blame themselves. They immediately carried out Yang Wu's orders. Yang Wu sat down again and let out a long sigh. That was close. This assassin is really good at hiding. You're lucky, kid. If you didn't know how to use the threat of death to break through all your acupoints in one go, you could go die. Little Hay sent a message to Yang Wu through her divine sense. Yes, under the threat of death, the instinctive reaction is the strongest. I didn't think that all my acupoints would really be opened. Next, I just need to condense all my acupoints into armor. After repeatedly strengthening them, I'll be considered a true human general, Yang Wu said with great excitement. At the same time, he also found that his other two Yin linking meridians and Yang linking meridians had been opened. All 8 of his extraordinary meridians had been opened, which meant that his body's potential had been activated again. At this moment, his eyesight were not inferior to those legendary clairvoyant eyes and clairvoyant ears. The wind god's legs that he had previously opened was even more extraordinary. The blue blood spots in his blood vessels were denser, and the divine court flower bud had grown bigger. In addition, a different kind of energy had condensed in his kidney. This energy belonged to the essence of the kidney, which was of the water attribute. It had an inexplicable connection with the primordial mystic essence Qi in his dantian. It was as if as long as he channeled the energy into his kidney, the potential there would be awakened. In addition, the Qianquan space that he had opened had also grown a lot. It could accommodate at least 3 things. These were definitely astonishing changes and gains. Yang Wu only felt that his entire body was filled with energy. Even his pure physical strength had exceeded 100 ding. It would not be a problem for him to kill a top general realm cultivator with his bare hands. This is the perfect state of the body of martial arts. Yang Wu clenched his fists and muttered to himself excitedly. He had completely forgotten about the assassination attempt just now and did not take it to heart at all. On the contrary, he was even more grateful that the other party had assassinated him. If it had not been for that, he did not know how long it would have taken him to break through the last 5 acupoints. Yang Wu mobilized his divine court spiritual power and immediately sensed everything within a dozen miles around him clearly. Nothing could escape his eyes and ears. However, he did not dare to be too presumptuous. He was afraid that he would attract the attention of some kings, so he quickly withdrew his divine thought. Grumble. Suddenly, a strong sense of hunger came and pulled Yang Wu back to reality. Little Hay, is there anything else to eat? Hurry up and give me some. I'm so hungry. Yang Wu shouted to Little Hay. I've prepared some for you. You're lacking energy right now. Eat more. Little Hay replied and spat out a large piece of dried meat to Yang Wu. Yang Wu did not say anything and quickly ate this piece of meat. When Yang Wu was full, he felt extremely comfortable. Taking advantage of the night, he went out of the tent and called Cheap Bone to test his strength. The tragic Cheap Bone was beaten until he screamed miserably, scaring the surrounding soldiers of the Death Legion. They thought that Yang Wu was slaughtering a tiger. When Yang Wu finished venting, Huang Mogai said respectfully, "Commander, that person's head was blown up, so we couldn't see his true face. However, we found this token on his body. Please take a look." Yang Wu took the token and found that one of the sides of the token was engraved with the words, Heavy Armor Battalion. Instantly, a strong killing intent flashed across his eyes. Chapter 161. Yang Wu had been ambushed. This matter wasn't considered a big deal within the Death Corps and didn't cause much of a stir. The Death Corps meant that not many people cared about the life and death of the people here. If this had been any other military camp, everyone would have already known about it and it would have escalated into a military operation. All forces would have been mobilized to get to the bottom of the matter. Yang Wu didn't want to let this matter rest. The other party might be from the heavy armor camp. He needed an explanation. Chao Qingguan, who had been beaten by him, was from the heavy armor camp. Thus, Yang Wu directly found the cold-faced adjutant and handed the exploded corpse to him. "Adjutant, I was attacked by an assassin. I found this token on the assassin's body. Please help me get justice." The cold-faced adjutant took the token and glanced at the corpse on the ground. He then waved his hand. "I understand. Take it out with you." Yang Wu didn't listen to the cold-faced adjutant's words and said, "Adjutant, we're all from the same camp. As the saying goes, we're all bound together for good or ill. I hope you'll take this matter to heart. I suspect that someone is taking revenge with malice." The cold-faced adjutant revealed a cold smile to Yang Wu. Remember, we're the Death Corps. In the eyes of the higher-ups, we only have death. If you're not dead, then stay put and don't cause trouble. This time, Yang Wu had nothing to say. He wasn't stupid. The cold-faced adjutant's words were very clear. The Death Corps wasn't liked by anyone and no one cared whether they lived or died. I understand. Yang Wu responded helplessly and left the tent with the headless corpse. This time, Yang Wu directly went to find the Rose of Death. He didn't believe that the Rose of Death wouldn't care about this matter. However, when he arrived at the Rose of Death's tent, he discovered that they weren't there. He could only return to his own tent. At this time, Li Dazue was waiting in front of his tent. When he saw that Yang Wu had returned, he immediately knelt down and said gratefully, "Thank you, Vice Commander Yang Wu, for saving me." After Li Dazue had taken the bone revival pill, his broken leg had completely healed. Moreover, he'd used the medicinal effects to treat the hidden injuries in his body. Not only had his strength returned to his peak state, but he also had the opportunity to break through to the peak of the general realm again. This was a grace to Li Dazue. Yang Wu immediately went forward and helped Li Dazue up. "Vice Commander, you don't have to do this. We should take care of each other." Li Dazue. Li. The current him wasn't as crazy as before. Instead, he was quite clear-headed. It could be seen that he truly wanted to submit to Yang Wu. "Haha, good. Let's fight side by side again," Yang Wu said very happily. Just like that, Yang Wu gained another capable assistant, Li Dazue. Deng Shuangmao, Huang Mogai, and Huang Minjing, who had previously been subdued, were also a force that couldn't be underestimated in the Death Legion. In a lieutenant general's tent, Chao Jiandao wasn't asleep. Instead, he was walking around in his pajamas with an anxious look on his face. Not long after, a voice sounded outside the tent. "General, the assassination failed." "Trash!" Chao Jianda reprimanded in dissatisfaction. The shadow outside the tent didn't dare to speak. He waited until Chao Jianda waved his hand again before he disappeared. Chao Jianda sat on the couch and looked at the flickering candlelight. He muttered, "I heard that the kid has the universal item. I'm afraid I'm not the only one who knows about this. If we can't seize the universal item in advance, I'm afraid there will be more problems if we delay. It would be easier if we could use the king's. It's a pity that the Rose of Death is watching closely." The night passed quickly. The sun didn't rise in the east. The sky was overcast, and cold winds blew from time to time. The beginning of winter had quietly arrived. Yang Wu was like the sun. His entire body was suffused with dense energy. He didn't feel cold even though he was only wearing thin clothes. It could be seen how strong his body was. Yang Wu gathered all his subordinates. He had decided to do something big today. That was to complete the mission given to him by the Rose of Death and make the other commanders of the Death Legion listen to his command. Now that Li Dazue had surrendered and the Rod Demon had been dealt with by him, there were only 8 people left. All of them were high-level generals, and 4 of them were even top-level generals. They each led different troops in the Death Legion. It wouldn't be easy to make them submit. "I called you here today to ask you to do something. I want to challenge the other deputy commanders at the same time. Let them meet on the challenge platform in 2 days. This is the mission given to me by the commander. They must come." Yang Wu said solemnly to all his subordinates. "Commander, you're not serious, are you?" Deng Shuangmao asked with a shocked expression. "Do I look like I'm joking?" Yang Wu asked in return. Deng Shuangmao quickly shook his head and said, "The other deputy commanders aren't easy to deal with. Commander, you have to be careful." "Well, just do as I say. Try your best to deliver my letter of challenge to the other deputy commanders. I hope they won't be absent in 2 days." Yang Wu reminded again. All his subordinates accepted the order and went to spread the news. As for the letter of challenge, it was delivered by Li Dazue, Deng Shuangmao, Huang Mogai, and Huang Minjing. Yang Wu was prepared to defeat all these deputy commanders in one go and make them all submit to him. He wanted to complete the mission given to him by the Rose of Death as quickly as possible. At the same time, he also wanted to test how strong his combat strength had become after reaching the general realm. After Yang Wu ordered people to spread the news, it immediately caused a disturbance in the Death Legion. Yang Wu is so arrogant that he wants to challenge all the deputy commanders. Is he crazy? It seems that his victory on the challenge platform has made him dizzy. The combat strength of every commander in our Death Legion is not comparable to that of an ordinary commander. Yang Wu is digging his own grave. Maybe this is the order given to him by the commander, and he has no choice but to carry it out. Could it be that Yang Wu wants to be the chief commander? This position has always been shouldered by the adjutant. What an arrogant brat! Let's see how he'll be beaten to death in 2 days. However, when the news spread, the higher-ups ordered that the battle between the young commander and the major general would be held in half a month. This was a grand event that happened once every 5 years, so the use of the challenge platform was temporarily suspended. After this order was issued, Yang Wu's declaration of challenge instantly became a joke. Yang Wu was also depressed. Originally, he wanted to challenge the other vice commanders on the challenge platform and earn some points while defeating them. Now, it was as if he was climbing a ladder. He felt as if he had just climbed up a ladder, and as soon as he stepped on it, he fell back down. This made his challenge a laughingstock. If there are no merits, then there are no merit. The challenge will continue as usual. The challenge venue will be in the Death Legion's camp. Yang Wu announced again. Yang Wu did not care whether the deputy commanders would accept his challenge invitation or not. He had already arranged for people to clear out a space for the battlefield. Yang Wu did not continue to pay attention to these trivial matters. He took his bone revitalization pills and went to the back warehouse. He planned to use 1 or 2 bone revitalization pills to exchange for some merit. He needed to determine the value of the pills and see if he could find a new way out for himself. He always felt that there were definitely many people in the army who did not want to let him have an easy time. He needed to have more capital to be able to contend with them. When Yang Wu arrived at the back warehouse again, he found the old general from last time and took out a bone revitalization pill. How many merits can this bone revitalization pill be exchanged for? The old general looked at the round pill in Yang Wu's hand and his old eyes immediately flashed with astonishment. Then, he snatched it and slowly examined it. After a while, he exclaimed in surprise, "This quality, this color, this medicinal taste, it's actually so perfect. It can be called a top-grade spirit pill." This time, the surrounding soldiers also noticed the pill in the old general's hand. Someone could not help but ask Yang Wu, "What's the use of this bone revitalization pill? It can heal broken bones and treat serious injuries." Yang Wu answered decisively, "That's a spirit-level healing pill." The soldier exclaimed softly, "Didn't you hear what that sir said? This is a top-grade spirit pill. Who knows how many merits it will cost? If possible, exchange for one for self-defense. It's also a life." Another person said from the side. "Vice Commander Yang Wu, there aren't many of these pills. Do you really want to exchange them for merits?" Someone asked from the side. Yes. Right now, I'm in urgent need of merits," Yang Wu casually answered. At this time, the old general put down the work in his hand and said to Yang Wu, "Come, let's go to the side and talk." Obviously, this old general did not want to discuss the matter of exchanging pills with Yang Wu in public. Yang Wu did not mind. He followed the old general to a place where there was no one around to see what the other party had to say. "Kid, do you know that the value of this pill is equivalent to a life? Do you really want to exchange it?" The old general asked Yang Wu like the previous person. Yang Wu nodded and said, "As long as I have enough merits, I'll exchange it." "Very good. This can be considered a top-grade bone revitalizing pill, but it's still only a spirit-level pill. I'll give you the highest price of spirit-level pills, 30,000 merit. The old general stated his conditions. That's fine, but I have a condition. You can only exchange it if you agree to it. Yang Wu replied. In the future, when I exchange things, you have to give me the same price as the other battalions. You can't double it. That won't do. This is a rule set by the higher-up. This old man can't do it. What if I have 3 more of these pills? Even if you have 10, it won't change the fact. In the end, Yang Wu was unable to convince this old general. He could only exchange this pill and not take out the rest. He felt that he had to properly plan this matter. Perhaps he would have to wait for the Rose of Death to come back and discuss it with her. Perhaps she would have a way to solve this problem for him. Yang Wu did not expect that this pill of his would cause a disturbance among the upper echelons of the army. At the same time, it also gave him some leverage to gain a foothold in the army. Chapter 162. The rear warehouse was also a part of the logistics camp and was under the command of Lieutenant General Tai Rui. After the old general exchanged for the bone revitalization pill from Yang Wu, he immediately submitted it to his superiors. The old general's position wasn't very high, so it was impossible for him to see Tai Rui directly. He could only submit it to her through the steward above. There were 2 stewards above him, Mei Feng and Chen Chuanchun. They were the top generals in charge of guarding the rear warehouse. After they received the pill, they immediately panicked. After identifying it and confirming that it was a top-grade pill, they all asked to see Tai Rui. Tai Rui received her 2 capable assistants in the tent. She smiled warmly and said, "Why are you here together? Is there a vacancy in the warehouse again?" Tai Rui was a skinny middle-aged woman, but who could see that she had extraordinary power in her body? "General, we obtained a top-grade pill and specially brought it to you." Mei Feng handed over the bone revitalization pill in her hand and said. Tai Rui waved her hand and a gravitational force appeared, taking the pill from Mei Feng's hand. She took a closer look and immediately showed a surprised expression. She exclaimed, "This pill already has an elixir pattern. It's comparable to an ordinary elixir king. Where did you get it?" Chen Chuanchun immediately bowed and said, "Our subordinates exchanged for it with merit points." Then, he told Tai Rui about the exchange between his subordinates and Yang Wu. Yang Wu again. He really knows how to make trouble. Maybe this was an unexpected gain and he didn't know the value of this pill, so he took it out to exchange. Tai Rui guessed. Top-grade pills were not seen in the mortal world. Only elixir masters in the transcendent realm could refine them. She didn't think that Yang Wu could refine a top-grade pill. At first we thought so too, but we heard from our subordinates that Yang Wu might have other top-grade pills. Mei Feng said. "Oh, it seems that he has obtained a great opportunity." A complicated look flashed through Tai Rui's eyes. She thought about the possibility of Yang Wu possessing a Qianquan space object. Then she thought about the fact that Yang Wu possessed such extraordinary combat prowess at such a young age. Her heart was moved. "I got it. You guys can leave first. Leave the supreme grade spirit pills with me." Tai Rui waved his hand, gesturing for them to leave first. Just as Mei Feng and Chen Chuanchun were about to leave, a voice came from outside. "Little sister Tai Rui, I heard that you obtained a top-grade spirit pill. Take it out and show it to me. I just happen to need it." As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared in the tent. It was Lieutenant General Chao Jinda. "It's just a healing pill. Is it worth it for Brother Chao to personally make a trip?" Tai Rui looked at Chao Jinda with a hint of dissatisfaction. The other party came uninvited. It was clear that he didn't take him seriously. Chao Jinda smiled and said, "It's just an ordinary spirit pill. Naturally, I wouldn't take it seriously. However, I heard that this is a top-grade spirit pill, so I came to take a look. It seems that it's true." "Yes, it's a top-grade spirit pill, but I already want it. Tai Rui calmly replied. Tai Rui, as the general in charge of logistics, you can't take this top-grade spirit pill for yourself. I also want it. Another loud voice came from outside the camp. Soon, a short and fat figure walked in. It was Lieutenant General Feng Tyson. You're here too? Chao Jinda said with a hint of surprise. If you can come, why can't I? Something good has appeared in our rear camp. I can't miss it. Feng Tyson smiled faintly. They received the news so quickly. It was clear that they had already placed their spies in the rear warehouse. A trace of killing intent flashed in Tai Rui's eyes. It seems that there's a need to organize the rear warehouse management. Tai Rui thought in her heart. Then, she said, there's only one pill. Don't fight with little sister for it. No matter what, I'm the manager of the rear warehouse. Tai Rui had already made up her mind to not give up on the top-grade spirit pill. They were very clear about what a top-grade spirit pill meant. At their king realm, ordinary spirit pills wouldn't have much of an effect on them. Only top-grade spirit pills could help them. This was also the reason why they rushed over to fight for the top-grade spirit pill. The three of them couldn't agree. In the end, they all went to the great general. Fen Tianxiong didn't put this healing spirit pill in his eyes. However, when he heard that this pill was taken out from Yang Wu, his heart became active. It seems that I need to meet Yang Zhenan's son. Fen Tianxiong muttered in his heart. Speaking of which, he also had some fate with Yang Zhenan. However, after Yang Zhenan was injured and retired to the front line, the relationship between the two faded. It wasn't just Fen Tianxiong. Several of the lieutenant generals present remembered Yang Wu. They all felt that Yang Wu might be hiding a secret that no one knew, and they wanted to snatch this secret away. The matter of Yang Wu challenging the other vice-commanders of the Death Legion completely exploded. This was definitely a warm-up for the battle between the young marshal and the major general. The vice-commanders of the Death Legion also received Yang Wu's challenge, one after another. Each of them had a completely different reaction. The 10 vice-commanders of the Death Legion each formed their own small team, except for Li Dazue, who was a lone wolf. Due to the Rod Monster's violation of the rules in the battle with Yang Wu on the challenge stage, he was being punished by the army and couldn't return. His subordinates were scattered, and Li Dazue and Deng Shuangmao joined forces to help Yang Wu incorporate them together. At first, those people weren't too willing, but Li Big Mouth and Deng Shuangmao were both ruthless people. They directly used some tricks in front of them, causing most of the staff demon's forces to submit to them. A small portion of the staff demon's forces then went to the other vice-commanders. This also caused Yang Wu's subordinates to increase to about 300 people. He could be considered to have a place among the many vice-commanders. Now, the ranking of the vice-commanders of the Death Legion was Xueji, Violent Dragon, Wei Qiyan, Du Guang Fo, Xie Dongyue, Jiang Gengfan, Zhou Tong, and Wei Zhuang. Xueji was rumored to be a yin-yang person, a legendary transvestite. He looked like a man, but dressed very feminine. No one knew whether he was a man or a woman. He was good at embroidery needles, and his needles were as poisonous as bees. Violent Dragon had an earth dragon as his mount. He was very powerful and was used to killing enemies. Among the many vice-commanders, he was the most terrifying. Wei Qiyan was known as the Red Snake. If anyone dared to offend him, he would bite them until they were dead. He had once hunted 8 barbarian generals at the same time. Du Guang Fo was a monk, also known as Xie Guang Fo. He looked like a monk, but he didn't have the compassion of a monk. He drank wine and ate meat every day, and his hands were stained with blood. Xie Dongyue, Jiang Gengfan, Zhou Tong, and Wei Zhuan were still in the advanced general realm, but they all had some special abilities. Once they went all out, they could make a top general realm expert suffer. Their strength was not much weaker than Li Dazhuo's. In a tent, the decorations were quite gorgeous. There were pink satin, bright flowers, and cute kittens. No matter how one looked at it, it was a maiden's place. In fact, this was the tent of the vice commander, Xueji. Xueji was lying on his side on a soft couch. He was holding an embroidery needle and embroidering. He was wearing heavy makeup and red clothes. He looked very coquettish. Below him, a burly man handed him a letter of challenge. Lord Commander, this is a letter of challenge from Yang Wu. Got it. Throw it to the side. Hurry up and take a look at my painting, Xueji said nonchalantly. The burly man walked over obediently. Then, he took a look at the embroidery and immediately praised, Lord Commander, your work is superb. The embroidery is really beautiful. You have a sweet mouth. No wonder I dote on you so much. Come and massage my shoulders, Xueji said as he winked at the burly man. Without another word, the burly man gently massaged Xueji's back. After Xueji enjoyed it for a while, he played with the tiny needle in his hand and said indifferently, It's been a long time since my needle pierced someone's eyes. In 2 days, there might be another blind young man in our army. What a pity! After hearing Xueji's words, the burly man broke out in cold sweat. He knew very well how terrifying this commander was when he was angry. He still remembered the scene of the 18 barbarians who had been pierced and blinded screaming together on the battlefield's passageway not long ago. In another place there was a towering tree. Under the tree lay an earth dragon. It was 30 feet long, and its ferocious head was knocked on a rock. There were long flesh spikes on its back, and its entire body emitted a dense demonic aura. It gave off an aura that kept people away. A burly man who was bound by crisscrossing iron chains leaned on the earth dragon's side. His eyes were filled with hostility. The letter of challenge in his hand had been crushed into powder. He let out a hoarse voice, a brat who's still wet behind the ears dares to challenge everyone. He must be tired of living. Immediately after, he stood up and threw a punch at a huge rock that weighed tens of thousands of kilograms in front of him. Bang! In an instant, the huge rock exploded into countless pieces, causing the surrounding soldiers to tremble in fear. In the infantry camp, a man knelt in front of a general and said respectfully, General Sima, may I know what instructions you have for this lowly one? If the people from the Death Army were here, they would definitely be able to recognize that this man was Red Snake Wei Qiyan. I heard that Yang Wu issued a letter of challenge to you? Sima Natu asked indifferently. Yes, General. He's just a clown. He's not worth mentioning. Wei Qiyan replied disdainfully. No, his strength is extraordinary. You can't be careless. I'll give you a mission now. Regardless of whether Yang Wu is dead or alive, you must get any accessories from him, Sima Natu instructed solemnly. Any accessories? Wei Qiyan asked doubtfully. Yes, especially rings or bracelets. As long as it's an accessory, think of a way to get it. Once you're done, I'll transfer you from the Death Army to my infantry camp, Sima Natu replied. Thank you, sir. I'll definitely do it well, Wei Qiyan replied happily. Once he left. Chapter 163. Yang Wu didn't know that he'd attracted even more attention from the higher-ups after exchanging for a pill. If he'd known, he wouldn't have acted so rashly. Now, Yang Wu went to find the Rose of Death again. Unfortunately, it was to no avail. He really couldn't figure out why the leader of the Rose of Death was so elusive. It was too difficult to find her. Helpless, Yang Wu could only return to his tent and take out a sealing pearl. He said to Little Hay, I'm going to open this sealing pearl. Do you think it's okay? Yang Wu had obtained this sealing pearl from Shi Shafeng, one of the 10 barbarian kings. It still hadn't been opened yet. Yes, but I suggest you take the soul return pill first before opening the seal. Otherwise, your divine quartz won't be enough. Once you open the seal, I'm afraid it'll be a waste. Little Hay replied. Before this, Little Hay had refined a cauldron of soul return pills. There were a total of 3 pills. Besides Shou-Ho, who'd taken one, the other 2 were still with Yang Wu. Can I take the soul return pill now? Yang Wu asked. The soul return pill was a king-level pill. Not only could it heal soul injuries, but it could also strengthen one's divine court soul. Yang Wu had been saving it for emergencies in the future. Now that little He wanted him to take it, he was very surprised. Just take it. Why are you spouting so much nonsense? Little He said impatiently. After a pause, it added, don't you also want to cultivate the art of alchemy? Before the Tao flower blooms, you won't be able to learn this immortal emperor's art of alchemy without enough spiritual power. Alright, I'll take it. This time, Yang Wu straightforwardly agreed and threw the soul return pill into his mouth. When the soul return pill entered his mouth, a strong medicinal effect spread throughout his body. Yang Wu immediately used the Supreme Nine Profound Arts to separate the strong medicinal properties. Soon, the divine court had a strong reaction and quickly absorbed the strong medicinal properties. The divine court Tao flower immediately swayed. The resurrection elixir refined by Little He was different from ordinary resurrection elixirs. It was refined with the true Samadhi fire. Its quality was very high, and its medicinal effect was very strong. Yang Wu had just broken through to the general realm. An ordinary general realm cultivator would not be able to digest the medicinal effect of the resurrection elixir at all. However, it was different for Yang Wu since he had the divine court Tao flower. It needed a lot of power to make it bloom completely. The reason why Little He asked him to swallow the resurrection elixir now was that Yang Wu had just broken through the general realm. The boundless energy of the soul return pill continued to pour into the divine court flower bud. The flower bud gradually grew bigger and showed signs of blooming. 1 petal, 2 petals, 3 petals. When the energy of the resurrection elixir was completely digested, the divine court Tao flower finally bloomed. There were a total of 7 petals. Each petal was translucent and dazzling. When Yang Wu's divine court Tao flower bloomed, he emitted a hazy glow. He was so divine and dazzling. If someone saw this, they would definitely exclaim, "The divine sun has descended to the mortal world." Unfortunately, this scene was only witnessed by the little black dog. It happily murmured, "I didn't expect the Tao flower of the divine court to actually bloom. This brat is comparable to those divine sons and fairies, haha." Of course, Yang Wu didn't hear Little He's joyful cries. Right now, he was immersed in an extremely dreamy feeling. It was as if he had returned to the ancient epoch and saw all kinds of birds and beasts. There were true dragons soaring into the sky, true phoenixes crying across the horizon, white tigers moving mountains, black turtles swallowing waves. There were also ancient people living here. They didn't live like mushroom hares that drank blood. Instead, all of them were like gods that had descended to the mortal world. They captured monsters with their bare hands and used them as mounts to travel between the heaven and earth. They were truly carefree and unrestrained. These scenes only flashed past in an instant. In the end, they gathered into beams of immortal light that enveloped the petals of the divine court Tao flower. They formed an extraordinary brand on the flower. After the brand was formed, one of the petals wrapped around the death Tao flower. The death Tao flower instinctively twitched, wanting to resist. Unfortunately, the divine court Tao flower today was far stronger than it was. It couldn't resist at all and was forcefully sucked into the first petal. Yangming's mental power and the power of the path of death intertwined to form a peculiar power, where black and white were constantly erased. After an unknown period, the first petal actually turned black, which was entirely different from the other 6 petals, which were crystal clear and untainted. The death Tao didn't disappear just like that. Instead, it directly fused into Yang Wu's divine court Tao flower, evolving its power and giving his spiritual power an extremely special kind of energy. This might be called the spiritual power of death. In the future, he might be able to directly kill people with a single thought. This was a terrifying killing technique. Yang Wu didn't realize it yet. He also didn't know that 2 days had passed. The battlefield he had chosen was already extremely lively. In an empty space within the army of death, Yang Wu's subordinates had already cleared out this area. This area was set aside as a temporary challenge platform. Now, there were already many people gathered here. They were all here to watch this challenge. Most of these people were from the Death Legion, but there were also a small number of people from other camps. Everyone was talking at once about the situation of this battle. Yang Wu has caused a huge ruckus this time, but he still hasn't appeared. What's the meaning of this? I think he's just trying to impress everyone. He doesn't dare to come at all. Probably not. I think Yang Wu is quite bold. His deeds on the challenge platform have already spread. Let's wait a little longer. He'll definitely come. Look, is that Commander Xueji? She's really here. Commander Tyrannosaurus is here too. They really are giving Yang Wu face. The 8 vice-commanders that Yang Wu had challenged were all present. They all stood in different directions. Behind them was a group of people, strengthening their might. Actually, there were some people who didn't want to come. They felt that Yang Wu challenging all of them at the same time was simply looking down on them. However, they had received news from the cold adjutant last night that they had to accept the challenge. Hence, they had no choice but to rush over. However, they were already present. Yang Wu still hadn't appeared. This made them unhappy. Wei Zhuan, who was ranked last, came to the battlefield and shouted, "Where is Yang Wu? Come out and accept your death." Wei Zhuan was a man with a full beard. He wore a set of battle armor and carried a broadsword on his back. He rode on a furry cow. He didn't look like a general. Instead, he looked more like a martial artist. His voice echoed, but unfortunately, no one responded to his words. At this moment, another person slowly walked onto the battlefield. He didn't have a mount. He only had a sword. The sword was a part of his body. It was Lone Sword Zhou Yong. He was a madman who had cultivated the wind, chasing 12 swords to the 13th sword. He didn't say anything. Instead, he pulled out the wind shadow sword in his hand. A sword light instantly shot into the sky. A thick battle intent permeated the entire battlefield. Many soldiers who used swords looked at Zhou Yong with admiration. They also hoped that one day, they could break through the limits of sword techniques like Zhou Yong and create their own sword technique. Then, a man and a woman walked out. They were Jiang Gengfan and Xie Dongyue. Jiang Gengfan was a fatty with a smile. He wore luxurious clothes and looked like a rich businessman. However, those who knew him called him a smiling tiger and a knife hidden in his smile. He had a broadsword hanging from his waist. He smiled at Xie Dongyue and said, "Hee sister, you're here too." Xie Dongyue was a charming woman. Unfortunately, there was a scar on her face that ruined her beauty. She looked cold and didn't answer Jiang Gengfan. Jiang Gengfan was also thick-skinned. He smiled again and said, "Sister, to be honest, I really like you. Why are you ignoring me?" "Shut up." Xie Dongyue glared at Jiang Gengfan and shouted, "Don't be like this. I'll cut off Yang Wu's head for you to calm down later," Jiang Gengfan said. He was still smiling as he said this. There was no murderous intent. However, no one doubted that he really had the ability to cut off Yang Wu's head. Amitba. Today, Buddha told us to refrain from killing. I think it's better to see less blood. Another voice sounded. Then, a middle-aged man wearing a monk's cross walked out. Duguang Buddha, a monk who could be called a Buddhist monk. After he appeared, Jiang Gengfan and Xie Dongyue stayed far away from him. They were afraid of him. He wasn't lying when he said that he would refrain from killing. However, he had many methods to make people wish they were dead. For example, he could break people's bones into pieces and cut off their flesh. He just didn't want people to die. A new deputy commander is worth everyone's attention. This is unprecedented. Wei Qiyan walked out and said. There was a red snake hanging from his body. The snake's head kept flicking its tongue. It was very scary. Today Wei Qiyan came prepared. Normally, he wouldn't touch his red refining snake. Then, Violent Dragon and Xueji also appeared. Violent Dragon rode on the ground dragon. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and said faintly, "Yang Wu is my prey. I'll kill him with one punch. Don't fight with me." Violent Dragon's personality was domineering, and his strength was also domineering. It was rumored that he once fought against a king and didn't die. It was enough to show how powerful he was. "It's easy for you to kill him, but his eyes are mine." Xueji was lying on a soft couch carried by 4 people. She gently pierced the embroidery in his arms. He repeatedly pierced the embroidery in his hand. Occasionally, he would bite his teeth. Coupled with his gentle and handsome face, he was a complete beauty. The 8 deputy commanders of the Death Legion arrived one by one. However, Yang Wu still hadn't appeared. This caused the situation to become strange and irritating. All kinds of insults toward Yang Wu could be heard. At this time, 2 people quietly appeared. This caused the scene to immediately become silent. These 2 people were the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant. They were the highest-ranked commander and deputy commander of the Death Legion. "Greetings to the commander." All the soldiers knelt on one knee and shouted in unison. An untimely voice rang out, "Are you all kneeling to welcome this commander? No need to be so polite. I'm not the commander yet. It's not right for you to bow like this. When I become the commander in the future, it won't be too late for you to kneel like this. Quickly get up." Chapter 164. Under the gloomy weather, the atmosphere was incomparably stifling. A teasing sentence added some liveliness to the atmosphere, but no one dared to laugh out loud. Moreover, the person who came was the Rose of Death. This was a female battle queen who had risen within 10 years and was chasing after the war god of death. Who dared to make fun of her? They must be tired of living. Everyone looked at the person who spoke. Who else could it be other than Yang Wu? After Yang Wu swallowed the resurrection pill, 2 days had passed unknowingly. If it wasn't for Li Dazue calling him outside the tent, he probably wouldn't have known that time had passed so quickly. Thus, he didn't have time to familiarize himself with his improved state and hurriedly bathed and changed before rushing over. "How dare you? Can't you see that the commander is here? You still dare to speak nonsense." Wei Zhuan loudly reprimanded after seeing Yang Wu. Yang Wu acted as if he didn't hear Wei Zhuan's words. Instead, he ran over to the Rose of Death. "Commander, I finally see you. I thought they were going to kneel to me and I was rejecting it in my heart. Now that I see you, I'm relieved." After hearing Yang Wu's words, everyone couldn't take it anymore. "Yang Wu, you're shameless. I've never seen someone as thick-skinned as you. Yang Wu, you'll be struck by lightning if you play dumb like this. If you have the ability, hurry up and challenge the stage. You'll definitely die a horrible death. Commander, this can't be tolerated. He's simply not putting you in his eyes. Just kill him. Is there something wrong with this guy? He dares to joke in front of the commander. Is he tired of living?" Everyone thought that Yang Wu's brain had gone haywire. He actually dared to make fun of the Rose of Death again. This was definitely courting death. Just when everyone thought that the Rose of Death would teach Yang Wu a lesson, they heard the Rose of Death say, "If you can defeat them 1 against 8, I don't mind making you the vice commander." This time, everyone was completely stunned. Even the cold-faced adjutant who was closer to the Rose of Death was shocked. He didn't expect the Rose of Death to say such words. If it was in the past, who would dare to say such a thing? At best, they would be severely injured, and at worst, they would die. Now, they actually treated Yang Wu differently, and even offered him the position of vice commander on the spot. Was this too crazy? Could it be that they were having an affair? As soon as this thought popped up in their minds, they quickly put it away. If he accidentally let the cat out of the bag, he would definitely be dead. "Okay, that's what you said," Yang Wu instantly said seriously. "Of course, my valiant generals are no match for you. It's not too much for you to be the vice commander and teach them a lesson. The Rose of Death nodded and said seriously. She paused for a moment before adding, "If you lose, they can blast you into minced meat. I definitely won't interfere." The 8 people on the stage were relieved after hearing the Rose of Death's word. Originally, they were worried that the Rose of Death was here to support Yang Wu. Now, it seemed that wasn't the case. She probably felt that Yang Wu was bound to lose, so she didn't immediately punish him. "I'm so scared. Didn't we agree to stop after a certain point?" Yang Wu said weakly as he shrunk his body. "Yang Wu, it's too late for you to be scared now. Hurry up and accept your death." Wei Zhuan had a big mouth and once again shouted at Yang Wu. "Don't dawdle. The sooner we finish this, the sooner we leave," Zhou Yong said coldly as he hugged his sword. "What's the rush? Are you afraid that this commander, no, this vice-commander will run away?" Yang Wu puffed out his chest and pretended to be calm. The Rose of Death didn't have time to listen to Yang Wu's chatter and immediately announced, "The challenge begins immediately. Life or death." Dong dong. It wasn't clear who started to beat the drum, but the deafening sound echoed throughout the surroundings, causing the atmosphere to instantly become tense. "Come, I already can't wait to become the vice-commander." Yang Wu raised his head and revealed an extremely confident expression. The Rose of Death sat on a seat that a servant brought over. Her exposed pair of beautiful eyes just happened to catch Yang Wu's confident expression. Her heart couldn't help but jump a few times. Why do I value him so much? Could it be that I've fallen for him? After Yang Wu went onto the stage, Wan Lanxin rushed over with Little Man. She shouted, "Little brother Wu, you can do it." Wan Lanxin wore armor and rode on a leopard. She had a heroic aura and attracted the gazes of most of the men. Many of them even made swallowing motions as if they wanted to skin her alive and swallow her. As for Little Man, who was following beside her, she was like an ugly duckling. No one paid too much attention to her existence. They didn't notice how bright and moving her eyes were. Under that layer of dark things, there was a startling face hidden. "Young master, you can do it!" Little Man silently prayed in her heart. Recently, Little Man had a dream every night. She dreamt that she became a princess and was supported by countless people. She returned to the place where she originally belonged, and the distance between her and Yang Wu became more and more distant. It was as if they were eternally separated and became people from 2 different worlds. Every time she dreamt of this, she would cry and wake up. She didn't want to be a princess. She only wanted to be a maid by the young master's side. Yan Mingjing also came. He brought a group of scouts to cheer for Yang Wu. He shouted, "Brother Yang Wu, Big Brother supports you in beating them down. I've already asked people to bring over 10 jars of good wine. Tonight we'll celebrate with you." Yan Mingjing truly wanted to befriend Yang Wu as a brother. Even if his uncle told him to stay away from Yang Wu, he didn't take it to heart. Yang Wu was his benefactor, and he couldn't be an ungrateful person. Yang Wu stood on the stage and looked at the people who came to support him. His heart was incomparably satisfied. He clutched his chest and secretly said, "In my life I will never let the people who care about me get hurt again." Yang Wu die. Wei Zhuan was the first to impatiently rush towards Yang Wu. He urged his hairy ox to run. The hairy ox was an intermediate demon general. Its momentum was incomparably tyrannical. It was enough to break through a mountain rock. Everyone else was staring at this scene. They all wanted to see if Yang Wu was as powerful as the legends said. He could blow up a top demon general with a single punch. Yang Wu calmly looked at the charging hairy ox. His eyes revealed an unclear and indescribable feeling. When the hairy ox came close, he suddenly shouted, "Get down!" This voice was like a clap of thunder. It was extremely intimidating. This was especially true for the hairy cow. It felt an invincible force sweeping towards it, just like the kings it had encountered before. The aura was like a mountain crushing down on it, causing its entire body to be filled with fear. It couldn't even muster up the slightest bit of fighting spirit to provoke it. Bang! The hairy ox's figure came to a sudden stop. Its four limbs were twisted together. Its huge body rolled on the ground. Wei Zhuan, who was sitting on the hairy ox, didn't expect this to happen. He fell off the hairy ox. However, he reacted quickly. When his body was about to touch the ground, he smashed the ground with his weapon. Borrowing the force, he flipped over and stood up. Everyone looked at the rolling hairy ox and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They were still waiting for it to test Yang Wu's strength. Why did it roll on the ground first? Bastard, Harry, what the hell are you doing? Wei Zhuan gloomily shouted at the hairy ox that was rolling on the ground. Moo moo. The hairy ox lay on the ground and repeatedly let out anxious cries. Its body had already turned into a ball and it couldn't stand up at all. Harry, you made me look bad. Just you wait. After I'm done with this brat, I'll come back and beat you. Wei Zhuan didn't have time to pay attention to the hairy ox. He wanted to save face. Holding the large saber in his hand, he once again ran towards Yang Wu, intending to kill Yang Wu. However, someone was faster than him. He was like a gust of wind sweeping past him. A cloud of dust flew up. He had no choice but to narrow his eyes. Just as he was about to curse, he immediately shut up when he saw the other party make a move. The 12 swords of wind chasing. Among the 8 commanders, Zhou Yong was the most skilled in using the sword. Moreover, he was the only one who could cultivate the 12 swords of wind chasing to perfection and derive the 13th sword. His move was a perfect sword move. 12 sword sparks scattered, covering every vital point of Yang Wu. He wanted to pierce Yang Wu into a beehive. Zhou Yong had the strength of a high-level general, but this sword move was enough to threaten any top-level general. He was confident that Yang Wu definitely wouldn't be able to escape his attack. However, just as his sword light was about to fall on Yang Wu quickly took 2 steps back and at the same time, drew his sword and stabbed out. Whoosh whoosh. In an instant 12 sword lights that were like wind blades surged out at the same time, completely blocking Zhou Yong's 12 sword. It was also a perfect 12 swords of wind chasing, and it was practically invulnerable. I also know the 12 swords of wind chasing. Yang Wu lazily replied. Is that so? Then have a taste of this sword move of mine. After Zhou Yong replied, the sword move in his hand suddenly changed. Originally, one sword had split into 12 swords, but these 12 swords suddenly merged into one, becoming a single sword. And this sword move was like an antelope hanging its horn, surpassing the 12 swords of wind chasing. It was also the 13 swords of wind chasing that he had comprehended and created. This sword move's change was extremely sudden, and the angle of attack was also extremely tricky, making it impossible to guard against. The surrounding people were amazed by this. This was really a perfect sword move. Just as Zhou Yong's sword was about to land on Yang Wu's vital point, Yang Wu casually swung the sword in his hand, blocking Zhou Yong's sword in an instant. What? Zhou Yong exclaimed. The sword move that had always been successful actually failed in front of Yang Wu. Your sword move is not bad, but it's a pity that you're too slow. After Yang Wu calmly replied, he once again thrust out the sword in his hand. It was a very calm sword move, but in an instant, it reached Zhou Yong's wrist and directly cut Zhou Yong's sword-wielding hand. Zhou Yong felt pain. After sucking in a breath of cold air, the sword in his hand fell to the ground. Without a sword, Zhou Yong was like a tiger with its teeth pulled out. There was no need to fear him. You've lost, Yang Wu said to Zhou Yong, not wanting to kill him to the end. Just as he finished speaking, a powerful sword light that emitted dense profound qi had already slashed towards him from behind. Chapter 165. The one who launched the sneak attack was Wei Zhuan. He looked uncouth, but in fact, he was not stupid. He took advantage of the moment when Yang Wu let his guard down to launch a sneak attack. Moreover, he attacked with all his strength and did not hold back at all. Wei Zhuan and Zhou Yong were both still in the advanced general realm. A full-strength attack definitely had the power to threaten a top-level general realm cultivator. Be careful. Zhou Yong didn't know whether it was because he had a conscience or because Yang Wu had shown mercy to him, but he shouted a warning to Yang Wu. Yang Wu acted as if he didn't hear Zhou Yong's shout and asked Zhou Yong, "Do you still want to continue?" When the little man saw that Yang Wu didn't react, she couldn't help but cry out involuntarily, "Young master, be careful." Wan Lanxin and Yan Mingjing were extremely nervous. They felt that Yang Wu must have been careless. How could he still have the leisure to communicate with others? This was a life-and-death battlefield. Every minute and every second was dangerous. How could he underestimate his opponent? "I admit defeat, quickly dodge," Zhou Yong reminded without even thinking about it. Yang Wu was the first person to break his 13 swords. He really didn't want to see Yang Wu get killed like this. Unfortunately, Wei Zhuan's saber light had already rolled down and was about to cut Yang Wu in half. Everyone held their breath. They all felt that Yang Wu was finished just like that. At the same time, they felt that this battle had ended a little too quickly. It was completely out of their expectations. They felt that Yang Wu could at least struggle a little and wouldn't be defeated so quickly. Bang! The saber light fell and profound qi exploded. Wei Zhuan really did cut Yang Wu, but there was no joy on his face. There was only deep shock and fear. He cried out involuntarily, "How? How is this possible?" At first, he thought that Yang Wu would definitely die. However, Yang Wu still had his back to him and was completely unharmed. He didn't even move his position at all. It was as if his saber strike was just a bluff and he hadn't attacked at all. In reality, it wasn't that he didn't attack, but that Yang Wu's body had an extra layer of incomparably thick profound armor. This sparkling and translucent profound armor was like a battle suit. It was extremely realistic, and its defensive power had already reached a level where it was impervious to swords and spears, water and fire. Battle armor? The Rose of Death said with a trace of surprise. The human general realm could only form Xian armor, which could block ordinary attacks. Only after entering the Earth-Sea realm could they form battle armor, and their defensive power would rise to a higher level. Yang Wu was clearly not a king, yet he was able to form a battle armor. She could not understand this. Perhaps he cultivated a defensive battle technique down. This was the thought that she and the others shared. Of course, Yang Wu didn't cultivate a defensive battle technique. This was all because he had entered the initial stage of the human general realm and opened 720 acupoints. His acupoints were connected together and the profound qi in his dantian was vigorous. Furthermore, it was the prenatal profound essence qi. All these factors combined to form Yang Wu's unique defensive profound armor. He had already begun to condense it when he was in the warrior realm. Now that he had broken through, it was naturally even more condensed. How could it be difficult for him to block an all-out attack from an advanced general realm cultivator? Yang Wu clearly wanted to show off in front of so many people. "You have the nerve to go on stage and make a fool of yourself with such little strength? Why don't you get lost like your cow?" Yang Wu turned around and said to Wei Zhuan faintly. "Impossible, it must be an illusion. Die." Wei Zhuan roared. All the muscles in his body tightened and he mobilized all his strength again. The saber in his hand released a strength of 120 feet. The saber wildly slashed at Yang Wu. Bang! Bang! Wei Zhuan slashed 7 or 8 times in a row. Each slash left a deep crack in the ground. A lot of dust was sent flying continuously. The destructive power was truly astonishing. Zhou Yong was forced to retreat from the battlefield, but he still didn't forget Yang Wu, who had yet to make a move. He also wanted to see if Yang Wu was really strong enough to ignore the attack of an advanced general realm cultivator. The others were also watching. No one blinked, for fear of missing the most exciting moment. "Are you done slashing?" At some point, Yang Wu had already ignored Wei Zhuan's attack and arrived in front of him, He grabbed Wei Zhuan's arm, who was still about to swing his saber, and asked coldly. Wei Zhuan instantly broke out in a cold sweat. He really couldn't hurt Yang Wu at all. This was a huge blow to him. Swoosh! Suddenly, a tiny embroidery needle shot out. The sound of it cutting through the air was almost negligible. At the same time, its existence was invisible to the naked eye. It went straight for Yang Wu's eyes. Only the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant sensed the appearance of the embroidery needle. They stared at Yang Wu to see if Yang Wu could withstand this invisible attack. "Didn't you hear me?" Yang Wu asked again. Wei Zhuan's Adam's apple squirmed. He wanted to answer Yang Wu, but Yang Wu suddenly threw him to the side and used him to block his side. The embroidery needle flashed past and directly pierced Wei Zhuan's cheek. He let out a heart-wrenching scream in pain. If Yang Wu's reaction had been a little slower, the embroidery needle would have pierced his eye from the side. This was an extremely vicious attack. Yang Wu broke out in a cold sweat. If it weren't for the fact that his divine court Dao flower had bloomed and his reaction speed had increased by several times, it would have been difficult for him to discover this sudden attack. Yang Wu's gaze locked onto Xueji. A wave of killing intent emanated from him as he shouted, "It's you!" Xueji smiled like a beautiful woman and replied, "Hee, didn't you want to fight 8 by yourself? What's so strange about me attacking? However, it's a pity that you dodged it." "That's right. You should all attack at the same time." After Yang Wu replied, he lifted Wei Zhuan's strong body and threw him out of the challenge stage. Just like that, only 6 of the 8 vice commanders were left. These 6 people were completely aware of Yang Wu's strength. It was worth it for them to attack together. Otherwise, they would be defeated one by one. Violent Dragon jumped down from the Earth Dragon and shouted, "I'll be the main attacker. You guys cooperate with me." Immediately after, he and his Earth Dragon charged at Yang Wu from the left and right. Violent Dragon Fist. Earth Dragon Burrowing. Violent Dragon was most proficient in fist techniques. He had studied the Earth Dragon and created his own Violent Dragon Fist. The fist energy was ferocious and domineering. Could break through mountains and rocks. It was unstoppable. He was at the peak of the general realm, infinitely close to the king realm. He was second only to Xueji as a vice commander. His fist was like the roar of an earth dragon. It was frightening. As for his mount, it burrowed directly into the ground and charged at Yang Wu. Once it broke out of the ground, it would devour Yang Wu alive. The man and his mount worked together seamlessly. However, no one thought that this kind of power was enough to give Yang Wu a headache. The others had to attack as well. Wei Qiyan raised the scarlet flame sword and shot out a long scarlet flame serpent. The scarlet flame serpent that was 15 feet long gushed out, and in the blink of an eye, it had already arrived at Yang Wu's side. The scarlet flame serpent that was hanging on his body had already spiraled out, aiming straight for Yang Wu's waist. Du Guang Buddha put his palms together and chanted, Amit Ba. A dark golden light shot out from his Buddhist staff. This dark golden Buddhist light was very strange. It actually contained a dense evil aura that could corrode one's soul. This was probably where the name Evil Buddha came from. Xie Dongyue and Jiang Gengfan also attacked at the same time. One of them sent out a cold palm strike, while the other sent out a beautiful slash. 2 completely different powers sealed off Yang Wu's path of retreat. The 5 vice commanders worked together. The momentum created was very terrifying. The sand and rocks on the ground were already flying, creating a shocking destructive power. Yang Wu, who was in the middle of the challenge stage, was alert. He could clearly sense the attacks of these people. The only one he cared about was Xueji, who had yet to attack. That transvestite was still embroidering, but he knew very well that she would find a suitable opportunity to launch the most fatal attack. The divine court Dao flower has bloomed. My perception is also so strong. This feeling is too wonderful. Yang Wu thought to himself happily and began to attack. He took the lead and charged at the violent dragon as fast as he could. He directly punched the violent dragon. Bang bang! As the two fists collided, two flowers of profound chi exploded. The tyrannical violent dragon was forced back more than 10 steps by Yang Wu. Before Yang Wu could pursue, the earth dragon rushed out. Its terrifying mouth and sharp teeth bit at Yang Wu with a strong thirst for blood. Yang Wu was already filled with fighting spirit. He did not choose to retreat. He directly kicked out a whip leg. The leg light was like a sickle, directly breaking the earth dragon's mouth. The earth dragon's teeth were broken, and blood quickly spurted out. Yang Wu took the opportunity to jump to the side of the earth dragon. He grabbed its body and shouted, "Rise!" The feeling of being able to pick up a mountain appeared in an instant. He picked up the long earth dragon and used it as a weapon to sweep at the others. Wei Qian, Du Guang Fo, Xie Dongyue, and Jiang Gengfan's attacks either missed or landed on the earth dragon. The earth dragon screamed miserably. Even though the earth dragon's defense was very strong, it was still beaten black and blue. The violent dragon was furious. Yang Wu, put down the earth dragon. The tyrannical dragon attacked again, but Yang Wu was one step ahead and threw the earth dragon at him, shouting, "Here you go." The violent dragon was shocked. He quickly withdrew his fist and went to ground the earth dragon. However, Yang Wu had already taken the opportunity to rush over. Wind God's kick. The others' attacks could not catch up with Yang Wu's speed at all. They all missed. Yang Wu took advantage of the moment when the violent dragon was distracted to ground the earth dragon and punched. Soldier fist. This was the most common fist technique, but it contained an inch of force. It hit the violent dragon fiercely. The crisscrossing chains on the violent dragon's body broke, and his body was sent flying like a sandbag. Needle hidden in sleeve. Xueji, who was not far away, attacked again. He waved his sleeve, and several embroidery needles shot out at an extremely fast speed. He seized the opportunity very accurately. Yang Wu was once again facing the attacks of the others. It was not easy to dodge his embroidery needles. It could be said that Yang Wu was once again facing a situation where he was surrounded on all sides. Chapter 166. At the temporary challenge platform in the Death Legion, there were more and more onlookers. As long as they were free, the soldiers who were not on duty were constantly rushing in this direction. Even some Descartes, centurions, and commanders had also rushed over. Among them, there was no lack of Nan Runen, who had just been relieved of duty. She was now very fond of Yang Wu, so she naturally wanted to see his battle. Nan Runen brought a group of her subordinates to cheer for Yang Wu. The cheers were endless and the momentum was astonishing. Yang Wu will win, Yang Wu is the most handsome. This kind of slogan caused many soldiers to be envious, jealous, and hateful. If they had such support, they would use 200% of their strength to fight the enemy. Sister Lan Xian, young master is really popular, little man whispered to Wan Lanxin. Of course, an outstanding man like him will be liked by even more people in the future, Wan Lanxin said with a slightly jealous tone. Sister Lan Xian, you have to make your move as soon as possible, little man said with a mischievous look on her face. He and I can only be brother and sister, Wan Lanxin said as she looked at Yang Wu in the field. It was not that she did not like him, but she was older than him. Generally, people would not accept a woman being older than a man. Of course, this was not the main point. The main point was that Yang Wu already had someone he liked. She knew that he would never give up on her in his heart. On the battlefield, Yang Wu's situation seemed to be very critical, but everything was under his control. He took steps that others could not see clearly, and his figure kept dodging. He was the first to escape the attack of the embroidery needle. Xie Dongyue, who was behind him, was unable to detect the existence of the embroidery needle. She tried to slap Yang Wu's back, but instead of hitting him, she was directly pierced by the embroidery needle. When the embroidery needle pierced through her body, her whole body immediately twitched. Soon, she foamed at the mouth and fell to the ground unconscious. The embroidery needle was poisonous. Xueji, stop shooting needles. Wei Qian stopped attacking and shouted. He was truly afraid of being accidentally injured by Xueji. That would be extremely unlucky. However, the moment Wei Qian paused, Yang Wu had already bypassed Guang Fo's staff attack. The spirit snake sword in his hand stabbed towards Wei Qian. 12 swords of wind chasing. Yang Wu's attack was many times faster than Zhou Yong's. 1 sword, 12 stabs, all aimed at Wei Qian's vital points. Wei Qian was at the top of the general realm. His reaction was extremely fast. He kept fending off Yang Wu's attack. Unfortunately, he only managed to fend off 8 of Yang Wu's attack. 4 of Yang Wu's attacks still managed to stab his armor, making him spit out blood. If not for the armor, he would have become a ghost under Yang Wu's sword. The difference in strength between the two was not ordinary. Just as Yang Wu was about to heavily injure Wei Qian, the red snake, who had been waiting for an opportunity, came out from a corner and bit at Yang Wu's neck. The red snake's attack was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Yang Wu. The surrounding people couldn't help but scream. They all felt that the red snake was too good at picking the right time. It was so sudden that it would be difficult for anyone to block it. Yang Wu was indeed a prodigy who had already bloomed the divine court Dao flower. As long as he was on the challenge stage, he could sense everything clearly even without looking. There were no blind spots at all. Therefore, although the red snake's attack was fast, he could still sense it. He didn't even look. He reached out and grabbed the red snake's throat. The snake's tongue was only half a foot away from him. If he had been a little slower, he would have been injured. A little snake dares to be so fierce? Die! Yang Wu shouted. He grabbed the snake's body with his other hand and pulled with both hands. No! Wei Qian cried out. The red snake was his treasure, but now it was torn in half by Yang Wu. He felt a pang of pain in his heart. Yang Wu, you deserve to die. Wei Qian completely exploded. He didn't know when something appeared in his hand, but he threw it at Yang Wu. A dense fog drifted, and an extremely pungent smell spread out. Yang Wu immediately felt his eyes ache and even felt dizzy. He subconsciously shouted, "Poisonous smoke powder." Poisonous smoke powder was a vicious thing. It could be considered a type of poisonous smoke. Once it hit someone, it would hurt their eyes. The smell would make them dizzy and nauseous. Yang Wu really didn't expect that someone would use such a method to attack on the battlefield. The situation was very bad. Despicable! Wan Lanxin immediately scolded. Nan Runan also scolded. Shameless person, you actually used poison powder on the challenge stage. You deserve to die. Kick him off the stage. This is against the rules. Yan Mingjing also cried out for his brother. There are no rules against using poison powder on the challenge stage. Yang Wu can't handle it, so he can't blame anyone. Someone stood on Wei Qian's side and said, although it's unfair, Yang Wu can only blame himself for being careless. Someone else said, this is a challenge stage, not a battlefield. Using such a despicable method to win is unfair. Most people still felt that it wasn't worth it for Yang Wu, but there were also people who felt that the battle relied on their own method. No one could be blamed if they were hit. The Rose of Death didn't say anything, and the battle continued. Wei Qian saw that Yang Wu was hit and revealed a happy expression. He secretly thought, even if I'm scolded, I can still complete the mission given by Sir Sima. This is nothing. Wei Qian quickly made his move. The scarlet flame sword slashed at Yang Wu's neck. He wanted to kill Yang Wu first, and then take all the accessories from Yang Wu's body. The sword was incomparably sharp and directly cut through the throat. Amit Ba. Du Guang Buddha put his palms together and said. He didn't pursue. He also felt that Yang Wu would undoubtedly die. On the contrary, Jiang Gengfan, who had been waiting for an opportunity, raised his scimitar and slashed out a crescent-shaped attack from afar. He wanted to hit Yang Wu while he was down. Everyone thought that Yang Wu would definitely be killed by Wei Qiyan, but Yang Wu actually predicted it. His figure retreated and dodged Wei Qian's attack. His back took Jiang Gengfan's crescent-shaped attack head-on. Bang! Yang Wu's defense didn't decrease at all. He was completely fine after being slashed by the scimitar. You can dodge the first time, but you can't dodge the second time, Wei Qiyan shouted. The scarlet flame sword burst forth with fiery celestial qi. He slashed out again and again without holding back. He didn't plan to give Yang Wu the slightest chance. Hundreds of snakes swallowed. Every sword ray was like a scarlet refined snake attacking. Hundreds of scarlet refined snakes wanted to bite Yang Wu to death. Yang Wu seemed to only have the power to defend. He really didn't have the power to fight back. He was beaten back by these attacks. Suddenly, the celestial armor on Yang Wu's body suddenly burst open. His body staggered and fell to the ground. "Little brother Wu!" Wan Lanxin shouted anxiously. She couldn't wait to run up and save Yang Wu. "Don't you dare hurt my man!" Nanrunan lost control and wanted to rush up to save Yang Wu. Li Dazue also wanted to rush up. He couldn't just watch Yang Wu die in front of him. "All of you go back." The Rose of Death suddenly opened her mouth and snorted coldly. At the same time, an extremely terrifying oppressive feeling immediately swept through the surroundings. It suppressed the restless people, making it impossible for them to rush up to the challenge stage. Yang Wu is finished. Everyone had this thought at the same time. "Haha, go to hell." Wei Qiyan laughed wildly. He held the scarlet flame sword and stabbed straight at Yang Wu's heart. At this moment, he seemed to have seen Yang Wu dying under his sword. At this critical moment, Yang Wu suddenly opened his eyes and glared at Wei Qiyan like a sharp blade. Wei Qiyan had a bad premonition in his heart. Not good. He wanted to withdraw his sword without thinking. Unfortunately, it was too late. Yang Wu suddenly burst up from the ground. His palms were like whirling waves, fiercely imprinting on Wei Qian's chest. Bang! The general armor in front of Wei Qian's chest was instantly smashed into pieces. 2 palm prints directly penetrated his chest. His body was like a kite with a broken string. He flew more than 10 feet away before heavily crashing to the ground. Poof! Wei Qian's sternum was completely shattered. His internal organs exploded. Blood spurted out like a fountain. His body twitched nonstop. In a few blinks of an eye, he died. Even until his death, he didn't understand how Yang Wu was fine. He was clearly poisoned and his armor was broken. He should have lost his ability to fight and be at his mercy. Naturally, he didn't know about Yang Wu's abnormal constitution. Not only could he heal himself, but he was also immune to poison. He was definitely an immortal. Everything Yang Wu did just now, except for the moment when he was affected by the poisonous powder, was just an act. Jiang Gengfan, who wanted to finish Yang Wu off, immediately stopped when he saw Yang Wu become energetic again. He cursed in his heart, "Oh my God, this kid is actually fine. And he's so fierce. I can't beat him at all." Yang Wu turned around and looked at Jiang Gengfan. He smiled faintly and said, "Did you feel good slashing me just now?" Jiang Gengfan's body trembled. He opened his mouth and said, "I didn't." Before he could finish, Yang Wu had already swept in front of him like a ghost. He fiercely punched his lower abdomen. Bang! Jiang Gengfan was sent flying like a dead dog. He couldn't resist at all. "I'll pay you back for that slash just now." Yang Wu didn't kill Jiang Gengfan. He only wanted to teach him a lesson. Otherwise, this punch would have killed him directly. Everything happened too suddenly. No one thought that Yang Wu was just pretending. He took care of 2 people in one go. They instantly felt that they were too naive in front of Yang Wu. One used poison, and the other faked his death. Who is more despicable? Someone asked doubtfully. Nothing is too deceitful in war. Yang Wu really understands the essence of the battlefield. Amazing, amazing! Someone else replied on the spot. That's right. Not only is Commander Yang's battle prowess powerful, even his mind is so wise. It's really admirable. I thought Yang Wu was poisoned by the poisonous powder. How did he avoid it? I really don't understand. Now, only Xueji, Violent Dragon, and Du Guang Fo are left. Can they join forces to take down Yang Wu? Chapter 167. Yang Wu fought 1 against 8 and had unknowingly taken care of 5 people. Regardless of whether Yang Wu could win this battle or not, he had already received the unanimous approval of the Death Legion. With this kind of strength, this kind of mind, he was worthy of everyone's respect. Nan Runan led her people to shout even more enthusiastically. She only had Yang Wu in her eyes and could not tolerate any other man. Yang Wu, you really are the man I like. You're so manly. Nan Runan shouted crazily. The surrounding people who heard this couldn't help but smile, and their admiration for Yang Wu rose to a whole new level. Only Wan Lanxin and Little Man felt very uncomfortable. Their skin was not as thick as Nan Runan's, and they couldn't shout as loudly as her. I want to become stronger. How can I be weaker than other women? Wan Lanxin thought to herself with incomparable certainty. I said I would protect the young master. I have to work harder. Little Man clenched her fists and reminded herself. On the battlefield, Xueji, Violent Dragon, and Du Guang Fo did not retreat. Instead, they formed a triangle with Yang Wu in the middle, preparing for the final battle. All the trash has been cleared. We can finally fight without holding back, Xueji said as she gently flicked the embroidery needle in her hand. Her hands shuttled back and forth as she held 8 embroidery needles between her fingers. The sparkling light flickered and they looked very sharp. Violent Dragon bumped his fists together and said, I'm going to be serious this time. Immediately after, the aura on Violent Dragon's body skyrocketed, and the muscles all over his body continued to swell. In the blink of an eye, he became 1 size bigger. 2 demonic patterns appeared between his eyebrows, and there seemed to be an earth dragon appearing behind him. Violent Dragon Transformation. This was a secret technique he cultivated. At the same time, he had refined the earth dragon's blood in his body and had already cultivated battle patterns. It could allow his battle strength to reach 200% for a quarter of an hour. This was Violent Dragon's true strength. Amitabha. Humans strive for pride, Buddhas strive for incense. I don't want to lose either. Du Guang Buddha put his palms together and held the prayer beads in front of his neck in his hand. A dark golden light radiated from his body. The evil Buddhist aura became even more oppressive. Yang Wu stood in the middle of the field, a faint smile on his face as he said, Come at me together, don't waste time. Dragon Turtle Water suppressing stance. At this moment, he was standing like a pine tree. Water profound energy was constantly gathering under his feet. 720 acupoints were flickering continuously, and the 12 main meridians and 8 great extraordinary meridians in his body were continuously transferring energy to his dantian, allowing him to maintain his peak condition at all times. Other people would consume a lot of their fighting power in the process of battle. In a group battle, it was easy to be exhausted to death. However, Yang Wu's peach stone dantian had a sea of profound energy. It was several dozen times stronger than others at the same level, perhaps even 100 times. This was an advantage that others could not compare to. Furthermore, he had formed a perfect foundation and could use every strand of energy to its peak. He could also absorb energy from the outside world to replenish himself. All of these were the reasons why he was stronger than others. I admire you a bit, but today you must become a blind man. Xueji revealed a trace of ruthlessness and finally chose to take the initiative to attack for the first time. Phantom Shadow Movement Technique. Xueji's feet moved as if she had turned into a red ghost. A series of afterimages appeared on the stage, making it impossible to tell which one was her real body and which one was an afterimage. This was the movement technique that made Xueji famous. It was rumored that it was an emperor technique, and he had already cultivated it to the large success realm. No one could compare to his speed. At the same time, 8 embroidery needles shot out from different directions. This time, they were not disposable needles but were bound by thread. 8 thin threads shot out at the same time. Some were straight, some were curved, and some were slanted. The different attacks were very beautiful and extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they were already furiously stabbing towards Yang Wu. These 8 needles contained an incomparably boundless energy. This could be sensed from the flickering profound energy. So fast. When Yang Wu sensed the 8 needles, they were already in front of him. He cried out in surprise, and the profound armor on his body shone brightly, protecting him tightly. Moreover, the spirit snake sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed at the 8 needles. Yang Wu's attack was fast, but Xueji's attack was even faster. She swung her arms and flicked her 10 fingers. The 8 needles immediately changed directions and did not attack according to their original trajectory. 4 of the needles bound Yang Wu's sword while the other 4 pierced towards Yang Wu's vitals from unexpected directions. Bang bang! After the 4 tiny needles pierced through, they actually caused great damage to Yang Wu's profound armor. They made muffled sounds and their power was truly terrifying. Fortunately, Yang Wu's defense was strong enough. Otherwise, the 4 needles would have pierced his body. However, this was not the end. The 4 needles were smeared with poison. They could not break through Yang Wu's defense, but the poison could directly invade his profound armor. ZZ. The profound armor was quickly corroded by the poison and was about to invade Yang Wu's body. What? Yang Wu cried out in surprise. He did not expect Xueji's attack to be so overbearing and vicious. It was truly impossible to guard against. You are the most worthy opponent I have ever faced in a long time. I will let you die a quick death. Xueji let out a feminine voice and laughed. Just when Xueji thought that Yang Wu would be severely injured, Yang Wu pulled the spirit snake sword with all his strength. His body quickly spun in a circle, and the bound spirit snake sword completely entangled the 8 needles. He then squatted down and escaped from the encirclement. His reaction was very fast, which surprised Xueji. However, Xueji continued to flick the thin threads. The 8 needles were about to abandon the spirit snake sword and focus on binding Yang Wu. It's not that easy. Yang Wu finally thought of a way to escape. How could he let Xueji have her way? His spirit snake sword kept spinning and cutting, trying to cut the 8 thin threads. However, he found that the sharp spirit snake sword could not cut the 8 thin thread. Needless to say, these 8 thin threads were made of extraordinary materials. They were at least comparable to high-grade soldiers. Kill! Violent Dragon seized the opportunity to attack Yang Wu. Violent Dragon Fist. Violent Dragon attacked with all his strength after being strengthened by his strength. He directly struck out a 20-meter-long earth dragon that charged at Yang Wu. The terrifying force swept up the sand and stones on the ground, and waves of air surged. Du Guang Buddha also attacked. He poured power into the Buddha beads in his hands, and then threw them out. The Buddha beads formed a ring and quickly grew in size. A halo condensed from dark golden Xian Qi enveloped Yang Wu. Demonic Buddha Prison. The power of these 2 top-notch General Realm experts attacking at the same time was quite terrifying. Not many people below the King Realm could block it. When the surrounding people saw such a stunning attack, they all cried out in surprise. Only now did they realize that the exchange of blows between true experts was actually so brilliant and varied. They were even more aware of how huge the gap was between them and themselves. Only this kind of power is worthy of me being serious. Yang Wu's fighting spirit was high. He threw the spirit snake sword in Xueji's direction. Others might not be able to distinguish Xueji's constantly changing movements, but it was not a problem for Yang Wu. His eyesight was much sharper than clairvoyance. He found the location of her real body with a glance. The spirit snake sword turned into a long rainbow and stabbed forward. Xueji was so frightened that she immediately gave up on attacking Yang Wu and quickly moved away. The long sword slashed out of the challenge stage. The people in that direction did not have time to react. Just as they were about to be stabbed by the sword, the cold-faced adjutant snorted and flicked his finger. A force came out later and struck the spirit snake sword to the ground. The people in that direction had narrowly escaped death. They all wiped off their cold sweat and retreated quite a distance, afraid that it would happen again. After Yang Wu interrupted Xueji's attack, he could divert his attention to deal with Violent Dragon and Du Guang Fo. Dragon Turtle Sea Turning Technique. Yang Wu did not hold back his secret technique. He directly waved his arm. One of his hands clenched into a fist, while the other hand turned into a palm. The shadow of a turtle appeared behind him. Torrential waves surged, and the dragon turtle directly churned. In an instant, an extremely terrifying force exploded around Yang Wu. He threw a punch at the earth dragon and a palm at the Buddhist prayer bead. Boom! Boom! The forces intertwined and exploded, wreaking havoc on the challenge stage, causing cracks to appear. Countless sand and stones flew in all directions, forcing the surrounding people to retreat. Some of them could not retreat in time and were hit in the face by the sand and stones, causing them to scream in pain. These forces are too powerful. Are they trying to defy the heavens? This is the combat strength of a top general realm expert. The gap is really big. I also want to become a general realm expert one day. The power that Yang Wu burst out just now seems to be even more terrifying. What realm is he in? All the forces dissipated. Violent Dragon vomited blood and was sent flying. He who was famous for his fist strength was defeated. In addition, Du Guang Fo's Buddhist prayer beads were only sent flying. They did not shatter, but the Buddhist light was no longer there. However, Du Guang Fo had already appeared in front of Yang Wu. He opened his mouth and spat out an unexpected sound wave attack. Roar! Lion's roar of Buddhism. Only then did Yang Wu realize that among the 8 deputy commanders, Du Guang Fo was the most scheming. His combat strength was also not inferior to Violent Dragon's. He was a terrifying enemy. Yang Wu's ears were hurt by the lion's roar at close range, causing his movements to become sluggish for a moment. Du Guang Fo took the opportunity to rush over like a lion pouncing on a rabbit. His palms landed hard on Yang Wu's body. Bang! Yang Wu did not put up any defense at all. He was sent flying by Du Guang Fo. Not only that, but Xueji also launched another attack. 8 needles were shot at Yang Wu's body at the same time. All these changes were very sudden. The expressions of those who cared about Yang Wu changed in an instant. "Brother Wu, wake up!" Wan Lanxin shouted nervously. "Young master, you must be okay. Young master, you can do it!" Little man also shouted. "Yang Wu, hang in there. Don't die. I haven't given birth to your children yet." Nan Runan shouted again. Chapter 168. Was it over? That was the thought that flashed through everyone's mind. Yang Wu was still not so heaven-defying that he could fight 8 people without being defeated. However, this did not stop them from respecting Yang Wu. Unfortunately, Yang Wu was probably not going to survive. Du Guang Buddha's palms were extremely powerful. Coupled with Xueji's last 8 needles, each of them could kill a person. Even an immortal would not be able to save him. Yang Wu's body was sliding. His chest was in pain, and it was this pain that made his mind extremely clear. His mind flashed back to the time when he was first sent to the prison and was abused by those prison slaves. At that time, he was also beaten in such a way that he felt unbearable pain, and he felt powerless to resist. He had never been a person who was willing to admit defeat. He had risen to power in the prison, and he had taken care of all those who had hurt him. Now, he had the combat power that he did not have before. It was just a momentary mistake, so how could he be defeated just like that? The Tao flower in his divine court pulsed as if there was a power condensing. This was his powerful mental strength. He could sense that the 8 needles were infinitely close to his vital point. One needle was going to stab the back of his head, one needle was going to stab his heart, and one needle was going to stab his throat. The 8 needles were aimed at 8 vital points, and they were all fatal. "Get out of my way!" Yang Wu shouted angrily with his eyes closed. He had lost his balance and could not change direction. It was even more impossible for him to fight back or block. However, he had boundless fighting spirit. With the Tao flower of the divine court and enough mental strength, he could change everything. His voice seemed to be full of magic, and his spiritual power rushed out of the divine court in a mighty manner. It directly hit the 8 needles and made them stop. It was as if they had received his order to make them scram. Impossible! Xueji screamed involuntarily. He knew how to control the embroidery needles like the back of his hand. He could control them at will, but this time the embroidery needles actually lost control and stopped. It was as if there was a wall in front of the embroidery needles, blocking them all and causing them to completely stop. He couldn't figure out what power Yang Wu had that could block his embroidery needle. He felt that all of this was too unreal. Although the embroidery needle fell, it did not mean that Yang Wu's crisis had been resolved. Duguang Fo was not a person who would underestimate his enemy. He rushed over and wanted to give Yang Wu a fatal blow. How could Yang Wu be careless again? The moment his body touched the ground, he slapped his palms against the ground and bounced up with the force of the recoil. Without any pause, he collided with Du Guang Fo again. "I'll let you have a taste of my full strength." Yang Wu was completely enraged. He had just suffered a loss, so he wanted to get back at him double. Whirling wave palm. Yang Wu formed a seal with his palms and slapped out. The power in his dantian surged out. The 12 major meridians, 8 major extraordinary meridians, and 720 acupoints all throbbed. He gathered 100% of his battle strength and sent a wave of power toward Duguang Fo like a flood. Duguang Fo's expression changed drastically. He could not dodge, so he continued to attack with his palms. At the same time, 4 layers of solid dark gold mystic armor appeared on his body. He used all his strength to fight against Yang Wu. Boom! A wave of domineering power collided. Yang Wu's perfect whirling force broke Duguang Fo's palm and even destroyed his mystic armor. Duguang Fo was sent flying dozens of feet away and fell out of the challenge stage. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This was Yang Wu using 100% of his battle prowess. Previously, he had only used 80% of his battle prowess. After sending Duguang Fo flying, Yang Wu turned around and rushed toward Xueji, who was attacking again. A man learning how to play with needles like a woman. "You might as well be a woman," Yang Wu shouted as he used Wind God's legs to dodge and move forward at full speed. Not only did he make Xueji's embroidery needles lose their target, he also quickly approached Xueji. "If possible, I'm willing to be a woman in my next life," Xueji replied with a sickly expression. Then, his hands kept crisscrossing, and the 8 threads kept converging, forming a net in front of him, making it difficult for Yang Wu to get close. "Break for me." Yang Wu used the crudest way to break the move. He used his strongest power and his majestic Xian Qi to crush Xueji. Xueji could not dodge the Xian Qi. He could only brace himself to meet it head-on. He was beaten back by Yang Wu and his needles and threads were all messed up. The place where he was standing had sunk in. There were blood stains on the corner of his mouth. He could not hold on for much longer. Yang Wu increased his strength and broke through all of Xueji's defenses in one fell swoop. His body shot into the air, and at the same time, he threw a punch at Xueji. This time, Xueji rolled to the ground in a sorry state. It was difficult for him to attack again. When Yang Wu was about to give chase again, Xueji suddenly said, "Stop." Yang Wu did not stop. He threw a few more punches, causing Xueji's Xian armor to completely shatter. If it were not for the armor on his body, Xueji would have been a dead man. In front of absolute strength, none of them were a match for Yang Wu. Yang Wu's combat strength could be said to have reached the peak of the general realm. Only the geniuses of the general realm or even the super geniuses could compete with him. Xueji finally could not take it anymore. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. His beautiful clothes were tattered and his hair was messy. At this moment Yang Wu stopped attacking. He looked at Xueji and announced, "You've lost." Xueji propped himself up and looked at Yang Wu with a smile. "Haha, I won't lose. The only one who will lose will be you." Suddenly, his Adam's apple bobbed and a needle shot out from his mouth. No one expected Xueji to have an embroidery needle in his mouth. It came too suddenly. Even a king realm cultivator would find it difficult to dodge at such a close distance. Yang Wu's body could not react in time, but his mind could. He shouted again, "Scram!" His voice was like a clap of thunder. It contained a dense demonic power, causing the embroidery needle to fall to the ground. "You! How did you do it?" Xueji screamed with an ashen face. This was his most well-hidden attack, but it had been destroyed right in front of him. This was a huge blow to him. Yang Wu didn't answer his question. Instead, he bent down and picked up the embroidery needle. Then, he walked over to Xueji and said, "What other tricks do you have? Just use them." Xueji was so nervous that he could not speak. This was because the needle in Yang Wu's hand was slowly stabbing towards his eyes. "Don't!" Xueji cried out. "I saw that you liked to play with needles. I thought you weren't afraid of needles." Yang Wu did not actually blind Xueji's eyes. Instead, he stopped in front of his face and said with a strong expression. Xueji broke out in a cold sweat. He did not know how to answer Yang Wu's question. He liked to play with needles and he liked to blind others, but that did not mean he liked to be blinded by needles. "You lost." After Yang Wu emphasized it again, the needle in his hand still pierced into the wound. "Ah! My eyes are blind. My eyes are blind." Xueji made a sound like a pig being slaughtered. He covered his eyes and screamed. "Idiot, I only stabbed your thigh. Remember, don't play with needles in front of me in the future." Yang Bai rolled his eyes at Xueji. If he wanted to blind Xueji's eyes, he could have done it the first time. Stabbing Xueji later was just to teach Xueji a lesson. Yang Wu stood up and looked around the challenge stage. He looked at the opponents that were lying on the ground and a proud expression appeared on his face. Then, he looked at the Rose of Death who was sitting outside the challenge stage and said, "Captain, does what you said before still count?" The Rose of Death stood up. Her beautiful eyes were filled with ripples as she replied, "It does. From today onwards, you are the vice-captain of the Death Legion." At this moment, the surrounding soldiers of the Death Legion all knelt down on one knee and shouted, "Greetings, Vice-Captain Yang Wu." Their voices were loud and clear. There wasn't the slightest bit of exaggeration. It was worship and respect that came from the bottom of their hearts. "Young master is really amazing." The little man's eyes were filled with deep infatuation as she praised in amazement. Wan Lanxin beside her was sobbing. Wan Lanxin was very clear about how painful it was for Yang Wu to be demoted from a noble viscount to a slave. However, not only did he not sink into depression, he even rose up from the adversity. In just a few short months, he became the vice-captain of the Death Legion. This was something worthy of celebration and respect. She was happy and moved for Yang Wu in her heart. He could finally hold his head high. "Vice-Captain Yang Wu, you're so handsome." Nan Runan led her support team and shouted crazily. She couldn't wait to rush over to Yang Wu. She wanted to fiercely hug him in her arms and then proudly announce to everyone that this was the man she fancied. Fortunately, she wasn't crazy to this point, otherwise Yang Wu would have to flee. Brother Yang Wu is really good. Even if you can't participate in the battle for the position of young marshal, you're still a great man. Yan Mingjing felt sorry for Yang Wu in his heart. Indeed, with Yang Wu's fighting strength, it would be easy for him to win the position of Major General. The position of young marshal was not impossible. Unfortunately, Yang Wu's opportunity had been deprived by the higher-ups. Yan Mingjing was crying out for injustice for Yang Wu, but his low status was of no help at all. At this moment, Yang Wu's heart was also filled with joy. He had worked so hard for so long, waiting for such an opportunity. He wanted to rise in the army and return to King City in the strongest position in the future to take back everything that their Yang family had lost. This is just the beginning. Father, mother, wait for Wu. Wu will be able to go back to see you soon. Yang Wu clenched his fists and murmured in his heart. However, before Yang Wu had time to be happy, a voice poured cold water on him. Who allowed Yang Wu to be the vice-captain? This general doesn't agree. Chapter 169. Those who dared to call themselves general in the military camp were only those who were deputy generals and above. Lieutenant General Chao Jianda had appeared at some point. He was one of the 8 major lieutenant generals and one of the 9 major generals in the military. His words had absolute power and no one dared to go against him. Why aren't you kneeling down and saluting General Chao? The deputy general beside Chao Jianda shouted at the people around him. Greetings, General Chao. Scattered people knelt down and saluted. These people belonged to the other military camps, but none of the Death Legion's people knelt down. Their faces were full of disdain, and they even turned their faces away and pretended not to see anything. The deputy general was extremely annoyed. Are you rebelling? Hurry up and kneel down. The Death Legion's people were still indifferent. Who were they? They were the Death Legion's people. They were basically sent here to be the vanguard because they committed serious crimes. After they entered the Death Legion, they never thought of leaving this place alive. Why would they be afraid of offending people? They were already treated differently from the other military camps, so why would they care about the military's rules? They would rather kneel to their own regiment's commander, deputy commander, or even commander than to salute anyone outside their regiment. These were the soldiers of the Death Legion. The deputy general was really angry. Just as he was about to speak again, the Rose of Death glared at him. He instantly felt a formless killing intent entangling him, causing him to shrink back and not dare to utter another word. This is the Death Legion. I have the final say. Yang Wu is the deputy commander. The Rose of Death looked directly at Chao Jiandao with a domineering gaze. In the entire military camp, there was no one else other than the Rose of Death who would respond so domineeringly to a lieutenant general. Chao Jianda showed a trace of dissatisfaction. Rose of Death, don't forget that you're also a member of the military. You must absolutely obey orders. Lieutenant General Chao, you still can't order me around. The Rose of Death responded faintly. She paused for a moment before continuing, unless you can ask the Grand General for orders. In the entire military camp, the Rose of Death would only listen to the highest marshal. She could ignore everyone else. This was the Death Legion's principle all along. However, the marshal usually had a laissez-faire attitude towards the Death Legion. As long as they were killing enemies for the army, they could do whatever they wanted. Chao Jianda's face turned even uglier. He pointed at Yang Wu and said, "This kid offended a noble. If you know what's good for you, let him go with me. You can't protect him, and you'll get yourself into trouble." No matter who he offended, the fact that he wasn't directly executed proves that he didn't deserve to die. He has already atoned for his crimes with his own abilities. Don't tell me that you still want to erase these merits and forcibly convict him of a crime? If that's the case, what's the point of having our Death Legion? You might as well kill us all. The Rose of Death's reaction was extremely intense. She walked towards Chao Jianda step by step and released her aura, making it difficult for the people around her to breathe. You've broken through to the advanced Earth-Sea realm. Chao Jianda couldn't help but cry out when he sensed the Rose of Death's aura. The Earth-Sea realm was commonly known as the King realm. From the Dantian to the Earth-Sea, one could truly become a fish leaping over the Dragon Gate and becoming a person above all others. I've only broken through a few days ago. Would Lieutenant General Chao like to experience it? The Rose of Death replied indifferently. This woman was truly too domineering. She even dared to directly challenge a lieutenant general. It was also because of this that the Death Legion didn't dare to disobey her in the slightest. Seeing her protect Yang Wu so much, they felt that it wasn't a loss to follow such a commander. In the past, Yang Wu had a lot of resentment towards the Rose of Death. He felt that she was a woman who bit the hand that fed her. But now, he felt that she was much cuter. He muttered in his heart, I originally wanted to be stronger than you one day and teach you a lesson. But now that I think about it, I'll spare you this time. If you dare to bully me again, I'll definitely smack your butt in the future. If others knew what Yang Wu was thinking, they would probably faint from fright. He even dared to touch the butt of this queen who didn't even place a lieutenant general in his eyes. He was simply tired of living. Good, very good. I'll report this matter to the general. Yang Wu definitely won't become the vice commander of the Death Legion. Chao Jiandao naturally didn't dare to challenge the Rose of Death unless he was tired of living. When the Rose of Death was in the intermediate realm, she dared to exchange blows with the general. Now that she had broken through to the advanced realm, her combat strength wasn't much inferior to the general's. Why would he ask for a snub? This was a woman who was known as the Second Death War King. With her talent, she might even have a chance to surpass the original Death War King. If that was the case, the situation in Great Xia would be affected. Chao Jianda couldn't argue with the Rose of Death. He could only turn around and leave with his men. However, Yang Wu still didn't understand what was going on. He asked, that whatever general, do we have a grudge? Originally, Yang Wu was a good youth who respected the old and loved the young. However, since the other party didn't respect him, he didn't need to respect them either. That was why he asked such a rude question. How dare you address General Chao like that? The deputy general beside Chao Jianda reprimanded him once again. He wants to take away my position as vice commander and even wants to kill me. What else do I not dare to do? Yang Wu replied indifferently. You're rebelling. The deputy general wanted to shout again, but Chao Jianda gestured to stop him. Then, Chao Jianda said to Yang Wu, there's no deep hatred. It's just that you injured my son. After speaking, Chao Jianda turned around and left with his men. Everything was on the table. He, a dignified lieutenant general, was going against Yang Wu to avenge his son. Who would dare to say anything when he was clearly using his position to avenge a private grudge? This was the terrifying part of power. There's no justice in this world. I beat up the young and now the old comes. Looks like I have to work harder. One day, I'll beat you up too, Yang Wu said fearlessly. Many of the Death Legion members couldn't help but secretly give Yang Wu a thumbs up. The Rose of Death had enough strength to not be afraid of Chao Jianda, but Yang Wu probably didn't have such strength yet. Yet, he still dared to clamor. He was truly a role model for their generation. Who knew that Yang Wu's heart wasn't calm at all? He'd offended a noble and was sent to the border as a prison slave. Now that he'd just made some progress, he was being bullied by a dignified lieutenant general. This really made things difficult for him. He had nowhere to vent his anger. He wasn't willing to let his fate be manipulated by these people like this. I'm still too weak. I want to become stronger. Yang Wu was incomparably eager to improve. If he could become a king, he'd have the confidence to clamor with the Rose of Death. Then, what was there for him to be afraid of? Chao Jiandao, who hadn't gone far, clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles made cracking sounds. Dense, killing intent permeated the air, and the people around him all shivered. No one dared to make the slightest sound. This brat must be killed. Chao Jiandao added Yang Wu to his kill list and shouted, "Disperse." Remember, in the future, Yang Wu's orders are equivalent to this commander's orders. The Rose of Death announced again. "Yes, leader." Everyone replied in unison, and then dispersed one after another. Soon, only Yang Wu and those who cared about him were left on the challenge stage. Wan Lanxin, Little Man, and Nan Runan all wanted to go up and talk to Yang Wu. Who knew that the Rose of Death would say to Yang Wu, "Follow me." Then, she dashed over and lifted Yang Wu up. Then, she flew away from the scene with him in front of everyone. When the cold-faced adjutant saw this scene, an extremely complicated expression surfaced in his cold eyes. This wasn't the first time Yang Wu was carried away by the Rose of Death. This feeling of flying no longer made him afraid. Instead, it made him even more excited and yearned for it. He thought to himself, "Once I reach the Earth-Sea realm and become a ruler, I can condense profound wings and fly in the air. This is the symbol of a true expert." Soon, the Rose of Death brought Yang Wu to a solitary peak. This solitary peak occupied an area and was quite a distance away from the other peak. It didn't have lush trees, and only a small amount of weeds stubbornly grew. It appeared so bleak and lonely. From here, one could overlook everything in the Death Legion and also see the entrance to the battlefield. It was the best place to stand guard. The Rose of Death put Yang Wu down with her back facing him. She gazed at the battlefield passage and didn't speak for a long time. Yang Wu also didn't speak. He felt the gusts of wind on the mountain peak and looked at the surrounding scenery. The unhappiness in his heart seemed to quickly disappear. After an unknown amount of time, the Rose of Death finally spoke. "You shouldn't have said those words. We've already shed all pretense of cordiality. Why should I be polite with him?" Yang Wu asked in return. "You have to learn to be patient and challenge him when you have enough strength. Otherwise, you'll die even faster," the Rose of Death said indifferently. "Perhaps you're right, but he's about to chop my neck with a blade and I'm not allowed to curse back. Even if I die, I won't be happy." Yang Wu smiled wryly and then asked in return, "Then why are you protecting me? Although you're powerful, it's not worth offending a lieutenant general for me." The Rose of Death didn't answer because she didn't know how to. Indeed, everything she was doing to Yang Wu was extremely abnormal. This wasn't her style at all. Even if Yang Wu had saved her before, it wasn't enough for her to treat him like this. Yang Wu looked at the Rose of Death's slender and plump back. His courage suddenly rose and he directly hugged her slender waist in his arms. With a gentle voice he said, "You like me, right?" If someone saw this scene, they would think that Yang Wu was crazy. This was an act of seeking death. The Rose of Death was a poisonous rose with thorns. Whoever touched it would die. There were many precedents in the military. In the end, Yang Wu suffered a tragedy. Chapter 170. At the peak of the lone mountain, the wind whistled and the chill was desolate. A lone man and a lone woman hugged each other, adding a beautiful scenery to the lone mountain. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the youth was ruthlessly thrown over her shoulder and smashed into a mountain rock. "Ah!" A blood-curdling scream pierced through the sky, startling the birds in the sky and causing them to speed up. Soon, they disappeared without a trace. The Rose of Death. She didn't have such a title for no reason. Since the day she joined the Death Legion, she had killed countless people. Whoever touched her would die. At that time, she hadn't covered her face and revealed her stunning face. It was a fatal temptation to any man. One after another, thirsty men wanted to take her for themselves. These men either killed each other or were killed by her. Her origin was quite mysterious. When she first came to the Death Legion, she was only in the realm of a senior warrior. However, with the brand of death that she comprehended from the battle skill tablet, she was able to make rapid breakthroughs all the way. Soon, she was promoted from a small soldier to a centurion, a chiliarch, and even a commander. She was unstoppable all the way. No one could stop her. When she was fancied by one of the deputy generals, she was only at the peak of the general realm. That deputy general was at the initial stage of the Earth-Sea realm and was a genuine king. That deputy general forcefully took her. He felt that the Rose of Death wouldn't be able to escape from his grasp. In the end, the deputy general was castrated and killed by the Rose of Death. This matter alarmed the entire army, and even the general knew of her existence. In order to punish the Rose of Death, he directly sent her to the barbarian encampment to kill barbarians. At that time, the general promised that if she could come back alive and kill 100 barbarian generals and 400 barbarian soldiers, he would make up for her mistake and promote her to the commander of the Death Legion. In the end, the Rose of Death completed this mission after half a year and returned. At that time, she had become a genuine king. Her path of death had been initially condensed, and the Rose of Death's name spread throughout the army. The general immediately fulfilled his promise and handed the Death Legion to her. 5 years had passed since that day. Ever since she became the leader of the Death Legion, she no longer showed her true face. At the same time, no one dared to find trouble with her. She didn't expect that after 5 years, there would be a brat who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He hugged her waist from behind and said such shameless words. At that moment, her heart was beating extremely fast and her face was burning hot. She was completely at a loss and her delicate body was in a state of limp. If that brat hadn't climbed up the pole and licked her earlobe, she wouldn't have done such an extreme thing. Yang Wu was smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. He was dizzy and his body felt as if it had fallen apart. Even after fighting for so long, he hadn't been injured as badly as this. After all, it was a high-level Earth-Sea realm king. Even if it was just a light blow, it was enough to make him suffer. Fortunately, the Rose of Death didn't do anything to him. Instead, she revealed a conflicted expression and appeared to be at a loss. In the end, she muttered, "Who told you to be so impudent?" Then, she mysteriously took out a healing pill and stuffed it into Yang Wu's mouth, without any explanation. Yang Wu, this reckless guy, even licked her finger. She was so scared that she quickly shrank back, as if she had been electrocuted. The Rose of Death made a pose to hit Yang Wu, but Yang Wu wailed, "If you have the heart, then beat me to death. In any case, you've wanted to kill me for a long time. Isn't it just because I saw your body once? I did it to save you. It wasn't intentional. You still dare to say that?" The Rose of Death trembled in anger. Yang Wu wasn't afraid of being scalded. He continued, "I'm just speaking the truth. In any case, I fell in love with you from the first time I saw you. Even if you threw me to the barbarians and I was almost killed by them, I didn't blame you. I know you're angry. Now that you've vented your anger, can't we have a good talk? If you really don't love me, then just tell me clearly. If you still can't vent your anger, then just kill me and end it all. In any case, other people are eyeing my head. I'll die either way, so I might as well die in your hands. That way, I won't feel wronged even if I become a ghost." Yang Wu said these words without blushing or skipping a beat. In any case, he had already thrown caution to the wind. If he couldn't make the Rose of Death fall in love with him, then he would die in the military camp. It was easy for a lieutenant general to deal with a mere junior general like him. Although he had a little intention of using the Rose of Death, he had indeed seen her soul-stirring beauty. No man could stop himself from liking her, and he was no exception. It wasn't that the Rose of Death hadn't heard of those sweet words of courtship, but when Yang Wu said it so confidently, her heart was in a mess. She didn't know how to respond. Her emotions were very complicated. There was love, anxiety, and confusion. She wasn't sure how she felt about him. "Scoundrel!" The Rose of Death lightly stomped her foot and cursed before flying away. Yang Wu hurriedly called out, "Rose, I love you." His voice wasn't soft. It scared the Rose of Death so much that her body continuously swayed and she almost fell from the sky. The Rose of Death disappeared. Yang Wu's face was overflowing with a smile as he muttered to himself, "That girl's heart is moved. It seems that my handsome man trick is already half successful. As long as I work harder, I can definitely get her." After pausing for a moment, he sighed, "My life is bitter. In order to protect myself, I'm even about to sell my own body. If that slug finds out, I don't know if she'll cry." Yang Wu's mind thought of the little slug who always wore her hair in pigtails and loved to cry. His heart was immediately filled with boundless fighting spirit. He still had an unfulfilled 3-year promise with her. He still hadn't fulfilled it, so how could he die here? Yang Wu operated the exalted 9 profound arts, quickly recovering the injuries on his body. Soon, he struggled to sit cross-legged. He patted his forehead and said, "I forgot to discuss the matter of the pill with that girl. Forget it, I'll discuss it with her next time." Yang Wu's recovery speed became faster and faster. After circulating 2 to 3 cycles, the effects of the pill hadn't completely dispersed yet, but the pain on his body had completely disappeared. He stood up and wanted to go down, but when he looked at his surroundings, he was completely dumbfounded. This lonely peak was a cliff. It was very steep and very high. There wasn't any place to rest his feet. How was he going to go down from here? Rose, oh Captain, quickly come back and save me." Yang Wu loudly shouted in the direction that the Rose of Death had just left. Little He, oh immortal emperor, quickly come and save me." Unfortunately, no one paid attention to him even if he shouted himself hoarse. Helpless, Yang Wu could only think of a way to save himself. In any case, he was also a martial artist in the general realm. Could it be that he couldn't climb down from here? Yang Wu walked to the edge of the lonely peak and looked down. The 300-meter-tall mountain was incomparably vertical. If he fell down, he would probably be smashed to pieces. At this moment, a cold wind blew by. A few pieces of gravel brushed past his feet and directly fell down. He seemed to see himself falling down like this. He couldn't help but gulp and say, "Heavens, why do I feel like I'm a bit afraid of heights?" If anyone else heard this, they would definitely spit at him and drown him. The expert who had just defeated the 8 vice-commanders and hugged the Rose of Death's little man's waist still said such cowardly words. He was definitely lying again. Yang Wu wasn't lying. In such a high place, he, a martial artist in the general realm who couldn't fly, did indeed have a reason to be afraid. In the end, Yang Wu still had to carefully climb down from here. He used the crudest and most direct method. He punched out grooves on the mountain wall again and again, then slowly climbed down from here. Every time he climbed, he was so scared that he would miss a step and fall down. His appearance was really funny. After Yang Wu landed, he wiped his sweat and muttered, "Fortunately, no one saw. Otherwise, I would have lost all my face." As soon as he finished speaking, he seemed to have sensed something. He raised his head and saw a shadow high in the sky. Who else could it be but the Rose of Death? Yang Wu wanted nothing more than to dig a hole and crawl into it. He covered his face and ran back to the core, crying out like a wronged little wife, "I don't want to live anymore, I don't want to live anymore." In midair, the Rose of Death, flashing her profound wings, let out a melodious laugh, hee. When the wind blew, the veil lifted, revealing half of her gorgeous face, causing the beautiful scenery on the horizon to pale in comparison. Outside the barbarian suppression army's barracks, a group of people slowly approached the barrack. This group of people was very sparse. There were only about 20 people, but each soldier was in high spirits. Riding on their horses, they were all extraordinarily mighty. The valiant general in the lead carried a large flag with the word "Fu" embroidered on it. This represented that they belonged to Lieutenant General Fu's troop. Indeed, riding on a black red hare in the middle of this group of people was Lieutenant General Fu Rong. Beside him, there was a middle-aged man who could chat and laugh with him. This middle-aged man was dressed plainly and had a thin figure, but he had a charm of returning to one's natural state. Behind them, there was a young man who was half a horse's length behind them. He looked extraordinarily handsome and wore battle armor. He rode on a battle lion with his head held high. If Yang Wu was here, he would have recognized that the middle-aged man was Wang Jiuchong, whom he had saved from the blood pit. As for the young man, he was Li Ziying, who had pursued Wan Lanxin. "Thank you, Brother Jiuchong, for being willing to join my barbarian suppression army. You'll be like a tiger that has grown wings," Fu Rong said enthusiastically to Wang Jiuchong. "General Fu is too polite. I just want to let my good-for-nothing disciple temper himself and take a walk while he's at it," Wang Jiuchong replied indifferently. "Your disciple is a talented person. He will definitely be able to achieve great things in the army." Fu Rong looked back at Li Ziying and praised him. Li Ziying raised his head and revealed a proud expression. He thought to himself, "Wan Lanxin, oh Wan Lanxin, you didn't think that we would meet again one day. I will make you regret it." Chapter 171. Winter was getting thicker and the cold air was coming. The barbarian suppression army had already started to prepare many items to keep out the cold. They gave many soldiers thick clothes and increased the amount of materials they could use to keep warm. Although most of the people in the army cultivated the martial body and could withstand the ordinary cold and heat, if it was winter at the border, the temperature would be incomparably cold. The martial soldiers would not be able to withstand it, and even the warriors would find it difficult to withstand. Without thick clothing and the heat of the bonfire, some of them might even freeze to death. The Death Legion did not have such treatment. Therefore, every winter at least dozens or even hundreds of people would freeze to death. To the people in the other camps, the Death Legion's people deserved to die. However, to the higher-ups, they did not have enough supplies to distribute to them. Because of this, every winter, the Death Legion would have some riot. They would rob the other camps of their heating materials. This was the first thing Yang Wu had to deal with after becoming the vice-commander. Yang Wu thought that after becoming the vice-commander, he would be able to strut around and have some lackeys following him wherever he went. It would be like when he was a viscount. He could do whatever he wanted. Unfortunately, he was thinking too much. After the cold-faced adjutant told him everything he had to deal with in the Death Legion, he was completely dumbfounded. Food had to be dealt with and required merit points to exchange. Otherwise, everyone would starve to death. Clothes had to be dealt with and merit points could not be exchanged. Otherwise, everyone would freeze to death. Winter was the time when there were the least amount of battles. However, the Death Legion's people had to hand in merit points every month. Otherwise, they would be punished. Similarly, they had to find a way to deal with it. Yang Wu suddenly felt that he had picked up a hot potato. It gave him a headache. His dream of relying on someone else's power was shattered. What awaited him were all kinds of trivial matters. How could he cultivate and become stronger? "Adjutant, I don't think these things should be handled by a dignified vice-commander like me," Yang Wu protested to the cold-faced adjutant. These things were done by me in the past. Does that mean that I am still doing it now?" The cold-faced adjutant sneered. Yang Wu was instantly speechless. He didn't think that he could be above the cold-faced adjutant just because he was the deputy commander. As his strength increased, he realized that the cold-faced adjutant was also an unfathomable expert. He was at least a king in the Earthsea realm. "Don't bargain. Since you've accepted this position, do it well. I believe you can do it," the cold-faced adjutant said affirmatively and sent Yang Wu out. Yang Wu could only return to his new tent with a pile of recording materials. His new tent was rebuilt by Li Dazue and the others, and the tent cloth was provided by Nan Runan, making it the most luxurious and imposing tent in the Death Legion. When Yang Wu arrived in front of this tent, he felt that it was a little unreal. Originally, he had wanted to reject Nan Runen's kind intentions. But thinking about how he was a dignified vice commander, it wasn't a big deal for him to not have a decent place to stay, so he half-heartedly let her go. In front of the tent stood two subordinate. They were the guards that Huang Mogai and Huang Minjing had selected for him. "Greetings, Vice Commander." When the two guards saw Yang Wu, they respectfully saluted and greeted him. Yang Wu waved his hand and went straight into the tent. When he went in, he found a stout figure pouncing on him. Fortunately, he dodged quickly, otherwise, he would have been hugged tightly by this stout person. Who else could this person be but Nan Runen? Nan Runen was tall and strong. Ordinary men couldn't compare with her, but in fact, her face was quite pleasing to the eye. Her facial features were very regular. Although her figure was stout, the whole body was very well proportioned. In particular, her breasts were big enough, and her buttocks were even better. For a country bumpkin, this was good material for giving birth to children. However, Yang Wu's aesthetic was not that of country people. He was born in a noble family, and his vision was not ordinary. Nan Runen could not enter his eyes at all, but it was possible for them to be friends. "Can't you let me hug you?" Nan Runen said with a sad face, like a wronged little wife. Only Yang Wu could see such an attitude. Other people, even her father, might not have seen it. Yang Wu said, "Vice Commander Nan, it's not good for men and women to be so close." "What's wrong with it? I want to be your woman. Isn't it normal for a wife to hug her husband?" Nan Runen responded. Yang Wu said sternly, "Vice Commander Nan, don't be so stubborn. I'm younger than you, and for the time being, I'm not in the mood for love. Moreover, a real man should make contributions on the battlefield and die in battle. So I advise you to stop thinking about me. We can actually be friends, can't we?" It was not the first time Yang Wu had said this to Nan Runen. He had already emphasized to Nan Runen that he was not interested in her. It was so obvious, but this woman was stubborn. Sure enough, not only was Nan Runen not discouraged, but she also showed an extremely infatuated expression and said, "Wow, Yang Wu, you're so ambitious. You're a real man. I like you very much." Yang Wu looked defeated. He put the information in his hand on the table and sat weakly in the chair. "You can go. I still have a lot of military affairs to deal with. I don't have time to pay attention to you. So many military affairs, can you deal with them alone?" Nan Runen asked. "I have to deal with them even if I can't. A wise man works with his mind, a fool works with his strength. You can call a few strategists to deal with these matters for you. A wise man works with his mind, a fool works with his strength." Yang Wu chewed on these words and instantly bounced up from the chair. He smiled happily and said, "Thank you, Runen. You're right. I should ask my strategists to deal with these matters for me. There's no need to do it myself." As soon as he said this, Nan Runen showed a drunken look and directly collapsed on the ground. She held her face with both hands and murmured, "Oh, he just praised me. I'm so happy." Seeing her like this, Yang Wu really could not continue to communicate with her. He hurriedly walked out of the tent. He had to find someone to deal with these matters for him. After Yang Wu went outside, he sent people to inform the various deputy commanders to come for a meeting. Not long after, the 9 deputy commanders all arrived. No one dared to be absent. The 9 deputy commanders were Xueji, Violent Dragon, Du Guangfo, Li Dazue, Xie Dongyue, Jiang Gengfan, Zhou Yong, Wei Zhuan, and the newly promoted Deng Shuangmao. Most of the deputy commanders who had fought with Yang Wu were still injured. Du Guangfo's injuries were the most serious. He had taken a powerful blow from Yang Wu, and both his arms were almost broken. He was lucky to not die. As for Xie Dongyue and Wei Zhuan, they were mainly poisoned. With the antidote given by Xueji, they managed to keep their lives. As for Deng Shuangmao, because he followed Yang Wu, He was promoted to deputy commander by Yang Wu. As for the staff monster, he had already been executed and could not return. So, there were currently a total of 9 deputy commanders. Now I want to announce something. Xueji will be the chief commander. Do any of you have any objections? Yang Wu said to the 9 people present. Among so many people, Xueji and Du Guangfo were the most scheming. However, Yang Wu believed that Xueji's killing methods were even better than Du Guangfo's. He believed that no one would dare to oppose him taking the position of Grand Commander. Sure enough, everything was as he had expected. No one objected. Yang Wu did not know that it was not that they did not want to object. It was just that his power was too scary. Would they dare object? All right, since no one has any objections, let's move on to the next matter. The commander appointed me as the vice commander. Although I was against it in my heart, I still decided to take on the responsibility of sharing the commander's responsibilities. So, everyone, please support me in the future. If anyone disagrees, I don't mind sending them to meet Wei Qiyan. Yang Wu spoke in a cocky and threatening tone. He then said, "Now, I have taken over the position of deputy commander. There are a lot of military matters for me to handle, but I can't do it alone. So, I want to hire a few strategists to share the burden. Who do you think is up to the task?" When everyone heard Yang Wu's words, they all looked at each other. Clearly, no one wanted to take on such a role. Moreover, they were all military generals. If they were asked to do these things, they would not be able to do it. Why aren't you saying anything? Are you waiting for me to interrogate you one by one? Yang Wu frowned. Deng Shuangmao hurriedly said, "Deputy Commander, it's not that we don't want to take on the role. It's just that we can use swords and spears, but we can't do the paperwork." "That's right. No one is good at this. We can't share the burden," Xueji said. "I'm just a rough person. I can't do it," Rampaging Dragon replied straightforwardly. The others all responded at once. They all said that they could not do such a job. Just as Yang Wu was feeling depressed, Zhou Yong said, "Deputy Commander, I know someone who is quite good at writing, but he doesn't have the strength to truss a chicken. He often brags that he was once the county magistrate's strategist. I don't know if it's true." "Oh, the county magistrate's strategist? That's a guy who came up with plans for the county magistrate. He must know how to handle paperwork. Bring him here for me to see," Yang Wu ordered after thinking for a moment. "Yes, Deputy Commander." Zhou Yong left. Not long after, Zhou Yong returned. He brought someone with him. When Yang Wu saw that person, he was instantly disappointed. The other party didn't look like a strategist at all. He was more like a beggar. His hair was messy, his clothes were tattered, and he trembled as he walked. He didn't look respectable at all. "Lu Ji, why aren't you greeting the deputy commander?" Zhou Yong said as he lightly pushed that beggar. The man called Lu Ji didn't have the backbone of a scholar. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed, cough cough. "Lu Ji greets the deputy commander." Yang Wu was even more disappointed. He waved his hand and said, "Get up." After Lu Ji slowly got up, Yang Wu asked, "I heard that you were once the county magistrate's strategist. Do you know how to handle paperwork?" Lu Ji bowed and revealed a trace of elegance. "This little one knows everything from astronomy to geography. There's nothing that this little one doesn't know. Mere paperwork is naturally at my fingertip." "Enough. Do you think you're that old man Sun Rue? You think you're some big shot just because you boast a few words," Yang Wu said in dissatisfaction. Deputy Commander knows my master?" Lu Ji immediately straightened his back and asked. Chapter 172. In the most gorgeous tent of the Death Legion, a youth and a young man were drinking wine and eating meat together. The youth was wearing battle armor and looked like a young warlord. His outstanding temperament was very intimidating. Anyone would praise him. What a young warlord! As for the other young man, he was extremely sloppy. If he didn't tie up his messy hair, No one would be able to tell that he was only in his early 20s. People would mistake him for an uncle in his 30s. The young warlord was Yang Wu. He was only slowly tasting the wine and didn't eat the meat. The one eating the meat was Lu Ji. He seemed to have been hungry for many days and was wolfing down the food here. His eating manners were very unsightly. Yang Wu waited for Lu Ji to swallow the 10 kilograms of meat bit by bit before saying, "Drink a mouthful to moisten your throat." A scholar who could eat 10 kilograms of meat could be considered to have a good appetite. Lu Ji didn't stand on ceremony. He took the cup and drank it in one gulp. Cough, cough. Lu Ji didn't know if he drank too quickly or if he was sick in the first place, but he kept coughing. "Are you unwell?" Yang Wu asked Lu Ji. Yang Wu had coughed a few times since he saw Lu Ji, which was why he asked this question. Lu Ji admitted honestly, "It's an inherited illness since I was young. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to be some damn advisor." Cough, cough. "I see." Yang Wu came to a realization. He then cut to the chase and asked, "Are you really Sun Rue's disciple?" Lu Ji calmly replied, "I'm ashamed to say that I was fortunate enough to listen to a few of my teacher's lessons when I was young. I don't know if he still remembers me, but I've always treated him as my teacher. He was the one who led me onto the path of a scholar. Although I didn't pass the imperial examination, nor did I pass the imperial examination, I'm still the only outstanding scholar in the county. At least I didn't let my teacher down." Yang Wu's expression turned ugly. He knew that Sun Rue was a great strategist, and he really thought that Lu Ji was Sun Rue's disciple. Now it seemed that he had been tricked by Lu Ji. Lu Ji saw that Yang Wu's expression wasn't too good, so he hurriedly coughed twice and changed the topic. "I don't know what Vice Commander is looking for me for? Although I don't have the strength to truss up a chicken, I can handle some internal affairs without a problem. After all, I was once a county magistrate." "Then how long have you been a county magistrate? How many affairs have you handled?" Yang Wu asked. Lu Ji revealed an awkward expression and said, "Cough, cough. I was only a county magistrate for half a day. I didn't have time to handle any affairs before the county magistrate arrested me. He was going to send me to prison, but that heartless fellow actually banished me, a county magistrate, to the army. How hateful!" Yang Wu wanted to vomit blood. Didn't this fellow just boast that he knew the heavens above and the earth below? He had only been a county magistrate for half a day and still had the face to say such things. Yang Wu suppressed his urge to get angry and asked again, "Do you know where your master is now?" Lu Ji shook his head lightly and said, "My impression of my teacher is still that of when I was 10 years old. Thinking about it, it's been 11 or 12 years since I last saw him. He must have already entered the imperial court and become a state preceptor." Yang Wu slapped his forehead and said gloomily, "Your teacher is currently in the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison, not too far away." "What, my teacher is actually in the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison? Don't tell me he went to become a prison warden? I knew my teacher wasn't an ordinary person. Then can you let me join him? Seeing that I'm his student, he'll definitely take me in," Lu Ji said excitedly. Yang Wu was truly speechless. He said loudly, "He's in the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison and has already been there for 10 years. Do you want to join him?" "No way, so that old fellow boasted so much back then. He's actually a liar. He didn't even let off a 10-year-old child. How hateful, he deserves to be caught." Lu Ji's expression changed so quickly that even Yang Wu was left in the dust. "Then tell me, why were you set up by the county magistrate after only being a private advisor for half a day?" "Ahem, this is not something that can be explained in a few words. I can only blame myself for being too handsome. The concubine of the county magistrate took a fancy to me and dragged me to her room to see if her new clothes were nice. She even wanted to try them on for me. You see, as a man, how could I refuse such a passionate invitation from a woman? So I went in. It was such a simple thing, but when the county magistrate found out about it, That old man almost killed me. I swear, I did not do anything to his concubine. It was his concubine who pulled me and pushed me onto the bed. You know, I am weak and powerless, so I definitely could not resist. Ahem. The more Lu Ji spoke, the more he felt wronged. Tears almost flowed out of his eyes. Without waiting for him to finish, Yang Wu couldn't take it anymore. His stomach churned and he wanted to vomit. He hurriedly stopped him and said, "Stop, stop, I know. It's all because you're handsome that you were almost molested by the concubine. Furthermore, the county magistrate wronged you. That's why you're here, right?" Lu Ji repeatedly nodded and said, "That's right. No one knows me better than Vice Commander." "Okay, I know. You can scram now." Yang Wu couldn't stand Lu Ji's bad habit of bragging and immediately ordered him to leave. He didn't believe that Lu Ji was a good strategist. "Don't, Vice Commander, don't you want a strategist? I don't think I have any problems," Lu Ji anxiously said. "I want a strategist, not a braggart," Yang Wu said seriously. "Vice Commander, how can you not believe me? Everything I just said is true and not false. If there's even half a lie, then may I be struck by lightning." 5 bolts of lightning. Lu Ji immediately swore seriously. Before he could finish his words, a series of rumbling noises suddenly rang out. There really was thunder outside, and bolts of lightning danced like snakes. Lu Ji was so scared that he hugged Yang Wu. Yang Wu reacted quickly and raised his leg to kick him to the ground. Lu Ji was really good. He actually crawled back and hugged Yang Wu's leg and said, "Vice Commander, give me a chance. I really can give you some advice." Yang Wu looked at this timid and pitiful Lu Ji and his heart softened. He pointed at the documents in front of the desk and said, "Okay, I'll give you 1 day to finish reading these things for me. Also, organize them and find a solution. Otherwise, scram." Yes, I definitely won't have any problems," Lu Ji hurriedly replied. He didn't dare to stand up. Instead, he curled up and started flipping through the notebook, as if he was afraid that the lightning outside would strike him. He complained in his heart, "Is there any justice left? I'm just speaking the truth. Why doesn't anyone believe me? I must prove to everyone that I, Lu Ji, am unparalleled in wisdom." After Lu Ji looked at the words in the notebook, his aura immediately changed. His eyes were so focused. He held a pen in one hand and flipped through the pages with the other. From time to time, he would record the contents and matters inside. Yang Wu watched from the side and felt a little strange. However, he quickly dismissed it. He felt that Lu Ji was too good at bragging and pretending. He really couldn't take it seriously. Splash, splash, splash. A wave of winter rain fell. The impact caused the tent to resound with the sound of water splashing. Yang Wu smelled the scent of the water and only felt a wave of comfort. Without even thinking, he rushed out of the tent and landed outside to do his stance. Dragon Turtle Water Suppression Stance. This was a stance technique that evolved from the Dragon Turtle Sea Turning technique. It had a strong suction force towards water profound energy. Furthermore, he had the water profound pearl on him at all times, which was a foreign object that was close to water. As he stood there, a large amount of water profound energy gathered towards him. As the rain fell on his body, the pores all over his body opened up. Profound energy seeped into his body. The peach core dantian was quickly absorbing this energy. It was difficult for any heaven and earth profound energy to reach 100% purity. However, the peach core dantian could purify it into the purest profound energy. This made Yang Wu's profound energy even more extraordinary and his attack power even more domineering. Now, Yang Wu had reached the general realm. If he wanted to break through to the Earth-Sea realm, he had to transform the profound energy in his dantian into a sea of profound energy. He had to make his dantian become like a sea that could integrate 100 rivers. The profound energy would liquefy and transform into a sea bit by bit. Yang Wu's peach core dantian was incomparably vast. There was still a long way to go to transform the profound energy here into a sea of profound energy. Now, he was in the water, feeling the rhythm of the rain. The cool feeling made him feel as if he had comprehended something. He operated the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula and constantly compressed his profound energy. The profound energy that seeped in bit by bit naturally turned into liquid chi and fell into his dantian. Ding ding! The transformed profound chi liquid was like raindrops, falling down bit by bit. Just like the rain that filled the sky, it was incomparably magical and incomparably charming. While Yang Wu was transforming these liquid chi, his aura was rising steadily, and his strength was also improving. If anyone knew that Yang Wu had reached the stage of liquefying profound energy just a few days after breaking through to the general realm, they would probably hit their heads against a wall and die. Many people had broken through to the general realm, but they had been stuck in the primary realm and could not make any progress. Many of them did not know how to liquefy profound energy, so they could not make any further progress. Yang Wu's comprehension was indeed incomparable to that of ordinary people. At the same time, his kidneys were also devouring the liquid chi. The kidneys belonged to the water element, so they yearned for water profound energy the most. Something was awakening and growing there. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. Yang Wu's absorption speed was getting faster and faster. The Supreme Nine Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance were both extraordinary secret skills. Coupled with the mysterious water bead, Yang Wu's strength had reached the middle stage of the primary general realm. The speed of his improvement made many people feel ashamed. When the rain stopped, night also began to fall. Yang Wu slowly opened his eyes and ended half a day's practice of standing still. He opened his hand and a drop of water condensed in his palm. Profound chi condensed. This was an ability that could only be achieved after reaching the Earth-Sea realm. Interesting. Yang Wu muttered to himself with satisfaction. Then he dispersed the drop of water and returned to the tent. When he saw the document that Lu Ji had compiled, he was shocked on the spot. Chapter 173. Yang Wu had brought back a stack of official documents from the cold-faced adjutant. They recorded the information of everyone in the Death Legion, the contribution points they had earned, and the various important matters that the Death Legion had to deal with. These official documents gave Yang Wu a headache. However, Lu Ji had already categorized them and quickly made comments, indicating the next step of the solution and emergency measures. Yang Wu scanned through the records here. Among them, he was most concerned about the winter storage plan. It was written, "Divide into groups to guard and hunt. Food will be divided equally. Half of the food will be stored in the Legion, and the other half will be handled by individuals. Animal skins can be used as winter clothing and do not need to be turned in. Build bonfire pits and collect wood to keep warm. Similarly, this will be carried out in batches. 2 birds with 1 stone." The plans that Lu Ji listed were very simple to understand and not difficult to implement. However, it was really not easy for him to come up with a solution in such a short period of time. In the past, the Death Legion was like a plate of loose sand. Now they had to follow Lu Ji's suggestion and manage them together to form an effective combat team. Not only did they have to survive this winter, but they also had to make use of this winter to generally improve the combat awareness of these soldiers. Such a proposal went straight to Yang Wu's heart. Yang Wu was a member of the Death Legion and had a deep understanding of how everyone worked for themselves. Everyone did their own thing, and it was difficult to form a structured battle. Even if they went to hunt the barbarians, they would most likely die. However, there were many experts in the general realm in the Death Legion, and the others were all at the warrior realm. If they could be grouped together, not only could they reduce the casualties, but they could also allow everyone to hunt for contribution points. In any case, everything in the Death Legion was managed by themselves and did not need to care about the feelings of the other barracks. This way there would not be any obstacles. Lu Ji's only concern was, The people in the Death Legion are not fierce people. Can they be disciplined? This wasn't a problem for Yang Wu. Even if he couldn't discipline them, the 9 deputy commanders would certainly be able to discipline them. Vice Commander, I cough. I can only watch this much. There's still a third left. Can you give me a little more time? Lu Ji covered his mouth and coughed. He was afraid that Yang Wu would be dissatisfied and kick him out. After all, he had tried his best. Being able to see so much in half a day and come up with a solution was already his limit. Haha, no rush. We have plenty of time. Let's drink some wine first. Yang Wu laughed. Lu Ji hurriedly waved his hand and said, No. I'll drink it after I'm done. He was afraid that Yang Wu would ask him to leave after he finished drinking, so he was determined not to drink. He had to find a way to stay. He had enough of the days outside. He was bullied all day long, and food was a big problem. Now that the opportunity to turn over a new leaf was in front of him, he had to seize it. Yang Wu patted Lu Ji's shoulder and said solemnly, Don't worry. You will be this vice commander's advisor in the future. All the important matters here will be handed over to you, so you don't have to worry. Really? Cough. Lu Ji exclaimed excitedly. Of course. The way you handle things is very clear. I think it's feasible. With you around in the future, I can rest assured. Yang Wu had completely forgotten about Lu Ji's bragging. He felt that perhaps Lu Ji was born to be an advisor. The heavens have taken pity on me. The heavens have taken pity on me. I, Lu Ji, finally have someone who appreciates me. Lu Ji cried out a few times with tears streaming down his face. He then bowed respectfully to Yang Wu. This etiquette was many times more solemn than when he had knelt before. It was clear that it came from the bottom of his heart. Advisor, you don't have to do this, Yang Wu said as he helped Lu Ji up. Lu Ji held Yang Wu's hand and said excitedly, Lu Ji's greatest wish in this life is to be an unparalleled strategist who can devise strategies in a tent. It's a pity that I've met so many extraordinary people. Today I have met my lord. I will do my best until my death. Lu Ji's appearance was perhaps the best proof of a gentleman dying for his own sake. He was practically itching to treat Yang Wu as his second parent. His eyes were filled with a burning passion. Yang Wu felt goosebumps rise. He forcefully pulled his hand back and said, Don't be so excited. Just call me Vice Commander. Do well, I won't treat you unfairly. Yes, my lord, Lu Ji immediately said with a serious expression. Yang Wu slapped his forehead. He was too lazy to pay attention to Lu Ji. He was afraid that the more he spoke, the more excited this fellow would become. He took out some wine and meat and once again ate and drank with Lu Ji. At the same time, they chatted about official matters. As expected, once Lu Ji started talking about official matters, his entire person became extremely spirited. There was no trace of his previous cowardly appearance. His words were organized and supported by evidence. He even refuted some of Yang Wu's viewpoints and opinions. Only now did Yang Wu understand that Lu Ji was the real deal. Compared to the spineless person from before, he was practically a different person. Wait until tomorrow. I'll carry out the plan according to your method. If it works, I'll give you 1,000 merit points. Yang Wu said very seriously. Many thanks, my lord. Lu Ji thanked him. Yang Wu was too lazy to correct Lu Ji's form of address. He said to Lu Ji, You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow I'll have someone build a tent for you. Lu Ji was extremely moved. In his heart, his loyalty to Yang Wu had already reached the point of death. Lu Ji had followed his parents everywhere since he was young. At that time, his parents were still running a small business and lived a decent life. Later, they encountered bandits and his parents were killed. He was lucky enough to survive. However, he lived a life of vagrancy. When he arrived at a poor county, he used the last of his parents' belongings to support his studies. This was also his parents' only wish after their death. They hoped that he could become a scholar and one day be an official in the imperial court. He could rule the country and bring peace to the world. It was also at that time that he was fortunate enough to attend a few of Sun Rue's classes. He was even tricked by Sun Rue into buying a book called 24 Volumes on Governing the World and Saving the Nation. According to that old man, this was a work of wisdom that he had painstakingly written. He wouldn't sell it to normal people. He only sold it to Lu Ji because he liked him and felt that he had the root of wisdom. At that time, Lu Ji was full of fighting spirit. He felt that he would be an unparalleled strategist in the future. He would enter the imperial court and be conferred the title of Marquis in the near future. Later, he barely managed to pass the examination and become a scholar. He couldn't even become a Jiren. This was a big blow to him. However, he still looked forward to the future because he firmly believed in the words of the sage. When heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility on a man, it must first torment his will, toil his muscles and bones, starve his body and skin, empty his body and walk, and disturb his actions. Therefore, his heart is moved and his nature is tempered, and he can do what he can't. It wasn't until he was sent to the Death Legion that he completely gave up. All of this was just nonsense. His life was already precarious. How could he talk about the ideal of ruling the country? He was just a small figure destined to be a tragedy. During this period of time in the Death Legion, Lu Ji's mentality suffered a serious blow. This was also the reason why he became so servile. Now, he finally saw a glimmer of hope. Naturally, he would tightly hug Yang Wu's thigh and not let go. Moreover, Yang Wu's deeds had already spread throughout the entire military camp. There was no one who didn't know about it. Even Zhou Yong specially told him to properly grasp this opportunity. He knew that following Yang Wu would at least give him meat to eat. Whether or not he could change his fate, he didn't want to think about it for the time being. Yang Wu let Lu Ji sleep on his bed. Lu Ji was unwilling no matter what. He waited until Yang Wu took out his dignity as the deputy regiment commander. Only then did he obediently submit. Lu Ji curled up in the quilt. He looked at Yang Wu and nervously said, "Deputy regiment commander, you won't do anything to me, right? I'm actually sick. You don't need to emphasize it to me. I'm only interested in women. I have no interest in you." Yang Wu rolled his eyes. "Then I'm relieved," Lu Ji said with a sigh of relief. Yang Wu was really speechless. He felt that Lu Ji was really the best. He had the same personality as old master Sun Rue. Thinking of this, he suddenly had an idea. Since he could use Lu Ji, it would be better to use Sun Rue. He believed that the old man also wanted to get out of the mountain prison. He didn't have the ability to interfere with the affairs there now, but he might be able to persuade the Rose of Death to help him. Since the day he separated from the Rose of Death, he had been unable to find her. He still had something important to discuss with her. Yang Wu sat down cross-legged and meditated. He wanted to expand his universal space again and familiarize himself with the functions of his divine court Dao flower. Previously, after he broke through to the general realm, his universal space directly increased to the size of 3 cubic meters. This was a natural increase. In addition, he could expand it again. He activated the power of his Dantian and then activated the mental power in the divine court. The two combined and used the 8 extraordinary scriptures as a bridge to generate new power to expand his universal space. After the divine court Dao flower bloomed, Yang Wu felt that his spiritual sense was extremely powerful. This was also the reason why he could repel Xueji's fatal embroidery needle. He didn't use the power of sound waves to repel the embroidery needle. Instead, he used the impact formed by his mental power. At that time, he didn't think too much. He only tried to activate the divine court Dao flower to save himself. In fact, he did succeed. His divine court Dao flower's mental power formed an invisible ocean. It was very majestic. His spiritual sense was not inferior to any king's. Some kings couldn't even compare to it. With the combination of the power of his dantian and mental power, his universal space once again expanded to the size of 5 cubic meters. Now it could accommodate more things. At this moment, Yang Wu suddenly saw the strange power in his kidney. He took a closer look and exclaimed, "Oh my God, when did my kidney grow a pair of wings?" Lu Ji, who had been sleeping restlessly, was so scared that he fell off the bed when he heard Yang Wu's strange cry. Ah! Chapter 174. His kidneys had grown wings. What a frightening thing this was! Yang Wu was just expanding his universal space, but to his surprise, he found that a pair of small blue crystal wings had formed around his kidneys. This pair of small blue wings was condensed from qi. They were still in an extremely young state, floating around his kidneys. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to find their existence. Yang Wu was really shocked when he suddenly saw their existence. Transforming qi into wings was something that only the king of the Earth Sea realm could do. He had just stepped into the initial general realm a few days ago, and he had never thought that he would have such a change. "Deputy Commander, are you okay?" Lu Ji got up and asked Yang Wu. "I'm fine. Go back to sleep." After Yang Wu said this, he rushed out of the tent and found a place where there was no one and sat down quietly again. Now he was quite excited. He felt that the wings on his kidneys might be a good thing, not a bad thing. He had to try and see if he could transform qi into wings like a king and then fly in the air. Don't be excited, don't be excited. Maybe it's just my illusion. Yang Wu took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He felt that this happiness came too suddenly and was a little unbelievable. Who didn't want to fly in the air? Who didn't want to roam the world? That was the dream of any warrior. Only by stepping into the domain of the air could one be considered a real expert. Before stepping into that domain, one was just an ordinary person. Yang Wu felt that these wings would definitely allow him to step into that domain in advance. He couldn't wait to try and activate them to see if it was really so. Yang Wu first adjusted his state to the best, then used the qi in his dantian to draw in and strengthen the pair of wings. At first, Yang Wu only drew in a small amount of energy and slowly tested it. After the crystal wings were infused with energy, they slowly grew stronger. "It works!" Yang Wu was overjoyed, so he poured a large amount of qi into his kidneys and completely activated the pair of wings. Swoosh! Sure enough, the wings flew away. Yang Wu was completely dumbfounded. He thought that after he poured his power into the wings, he would grow a pair of wings like a king and fly in the air. However, the situation now was completely different because the wings were his own kidneys. They did not fly with his body as he thought. Yang Wu stared blankly at the pair of translucent wings that flew out of the kidney. Each wing was about the size of a palm, and it emitted an extremely bright and pure light in the night. Yang Wu was disappointed, but he also felt that this pair of wings was not as simple as it seemed. He could feel that it was like a part of his body, completely under his control and command. "Test it." Yang Wu gave the order, and it flew. Yang Wu was very curious. He constantly guided it with his spiritual sense. If he wanted it to fly to the east, it would fly to the east. If he wanted it to fly to the west, it would fly to the west. Moreover, its speed was so fast that he almost couldn't catch it with his eyes. It might be one of my innate divine abilities. It must have other uses. Yang Wu pondered for a while and came to a conclusion. Thus, he looked at a tree not far away. With a thought, he used the pair of wings to fly towards the tree. The wings were like a shooting star in the night, passing through the middle of the tree trunk in an instant. The tree trunk was still intact. Yang Wu felt extremely disappointed. He muttered, "Could it be that this is just a useless thing?" The moment he retracted his wings, the tree suddenly broke and collapsed. This time, Yang Wu opened his eyes wide and quickly flew towards the tree. He looked carefully and found that there was an extremely smooth cut where his wings had just swept across the tree trunk. These wings can attack. It really is one of my potential talents, ha ha. Yang Wu laughed with incomparable excitement. Thus, he once again used his wings to attack another tree. That tree once again followed in the footsteps of the previous tree. When Yang Wu wanted to use it a third time, he found that the wings had become somewhat dim. It was very obvious that it was because he didn't have enough power. Yang Wu put it back into the kidney, and it returned to a very small state once again. It needed new energy to appear again. Yang Wu made a few attempts and confirmed that this idea was not wrong. It should be a pair of sharp blade wings. In the future, it won't be difficult for me to use them to kill enemies. If I encounter those kings flying in the air, I can also shoot them down. This kind of potential talent can be called a divine skill. Yang Wu thought to himself proudly. In the end, he named it Hidden Blade Wings. This was a hidden killing weapon, and it would become his ultimate killing move. At the same time, he also guessed that it shouldn't be so simple. Perhaps it would only reveal its ultimate form when he became stronger step by step. When Yang Wu returned to the tent again, it was already dawn. Lu Ji was no longer in the tent. He had no idea where he had run off to. Yang Wu decided to settle all the matters today. Thus, he sent someone to call the 8 great commanders over. The 8 great commanders had yet to arrive, but Lu Ji had returned once again. Yang Wu was once again shocked by Lu Ji. You're Lu Ji? Yang Wu asked with a look of disbelief. Deputy Commander, are you shocked by my handsomeness? I told you before that it was really the county magistrate's concubine who seduced me. Do you believe me now? Lu Ji said with a somewhat bashful look on his face. This time, Yang Wu really believed him. He nodded repeatedly and said, Yes, it should be her who seduced you. If it were me, I would have done the same. You're simply a woman. The current Lu Ji was vastly different from the one he had been yesterday. If yesterday he was like a beggar that no one was willing to take a second look at, then now he was clean and handsome like a beautiful lady. He had changed into a clean set of clothes that he had probably found in Yang Wu's tent. He wasn't short to begin with, but after changing, he looked much taller. His thin body even gave off the feeling of a scholar who couldn't stand up to a gust of wind. However, all of this wasn't the main point. The main point was that his clean face was too damn handsome and charming. His eyes were long and narrow, his eyelashes were long and slender, his nose was sharp, and his lips were sparkling and translucent. It was a perfect match. His fringe even fell down, making him look like a living beauty. If it wasn't for the Adam's apple on his throat, everyone would probably treat him as a beauty. Such a ridiculously beautiful man, no wonder the county magistrate's concubine wanted to invite him to see her change into new clothes. Just as Yang Wu said, if he were a woman, he would also want to do the same. Cough cough. Deputy Commander, don't look at me like that. I'm a real man. I can only blame my parents for giving birth to me so handsome. Since I was young, I've always been harassed by different women. Even men want to see me as a woman. Those days were really unbearable. Deputy Commander, please don't be like them, or I won't be a private advisor anymore. Lu Ji spoke as if he couldn't bear to look back on the past. When he coughed, his face flushed red, making him look even more unbelievably beautiful. You really are an evildoer. Fortunately, you're a man. Otherwise, I would really do you on the spot. Yang Wu sighed and said, Forget it. In the future, it's better if you stay indoors and don't go out. What? Don't tell me you want to hide me? That's not right. Lu Ji protested. I'm just afraid that your butt will explode, Yang Wu said as he rolled his eyes. To be honest, he was a little jealous that the other party was more handsome than him. It was simply unreasonable. In the future, even if I have a woman, I can't bring her to meet this guy. Yang Wu made up his mind. He was afraid that he would follow in the footsteps of the county magistrate. If that happened, his head would be really green. Lu Ji was so scared that he covered his butt and didn't dare to say anything else. When he first came to the Death Legion, he had indeed almost encountered that kind of thing several times. Even now, he still remembered it vividly. "Ai, it's not my fault that I'm handsome." Lu Ji sighed heavily. This time, Yang Wu didn't doubt the authenticity of Lu Ji's words at all. He was sure that Lu Ji was a very honest guy. At the same time, he had the urge to beat Lu Ji's face into a pig's head. Not long after, the 8 commanders all arrived at the tent. Yang Wu sat in front of the couch while Lu Ji stood obediently beside him. His head was lowered to his chest and he didn't dare to raise it, afraid that others would see his face. Yang Wu introduced to the people present, "In the future, Lu Ji will be my advisor. You have to respect him as much as you respect me. Do you understand?" "Yes, Vice Commander," many of the commanders said in unison. Yang Wu was only 17 years old, but his battle strength was too abnormal. No one dared to disobey him. It could be said that in the Death Legion, apart from the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant, Yang Wu's words were the most intimidating. "All right, Lu Ji, tell them about your plan. How are you going to let our Death Legion survive the winter? How are you going to reduce the casualties? How are you going to increase the cohesion of our Death Legion? How are you going to increase our combat strength?" After Yang Wu finished speaking, Lu Ji began to talk about his plan. However, he spoke a bit softly and lowered his head, looking very awkward. "Lu Ji, raise your head and speak." Yang Wu shouted at Lu Ji. Lu Ji immediately raised his head and puffed out his chest, saying loudly, "My plan is like this. According to the Vice Commander's instructions, we're going to split into 8 small teams. With Commander Xueji as the leader and the others as support, we're going to hunt beasts for meat and use beast hides as clothing." Originally, no one wanted to listen to Lu Ji's nonsense, but when they saw Lu Ji's appearance, they couldn't help but focus their gazes on him. Most of them couldn't take their eyes off him. "This female advisor is so beautiful!" The 8 commanders all exclaimed in their hearts. Yang Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw the expressions of these commanders. He didn't know if having a monster like Lu Ji by his side would bring him trouble in the future. Chapter 175. The weather gradually became colder. The gray sky was mixed with gusts of cold wind, causing the battles at the border to stop. If there was a war between the 2 armies, it would wait until spring next year when the ice and snow melted. If they started a war now, it would be very disadvantageous for the attacking side. On one hand, the soldiers wouldn't be able to withstand the cold. On the other hand, the unpredictable weather would determine the direction of the war. In this kind of weather, the Death Legion began to mobilize. The various teams divided up their work in an orderly manner. Some entered the mountain wolves to hunt monsters and use meat to exchange for merits. Others used meat to survive the winter. Some cut down trees and brought back large amounts of trees to the Legion so that they could make fires for warmth during the winter. Some even began to dig caves to avoid the cold. When the ice and snow arrived, the originally scattered Death Legion suddenly became orderly. Only the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant knew. The others hadn't noticed the changes in the Death Legion for the time being. They were currently paying attention to the competition between the new junior marshal and major general. On the lonely peak, the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant stood together. They looked down at the soldiers below the Death Legion and conversed. "The Legion has changed a lot these days," the cold-faced adjutant said softly. "Is that so?" the Rose of Death said disapprovingly. These 2 people had cold personalities. It wasn't easy for them to coexist together. "Yes. I don't know if it's right for you to let Yang Wu be the deputy commander. The Death Legion's final fate is death. He gave the Death Legion vitality. This is something some people don't want to see," the cold-faced adjutant said. "So what if they don't want to see it? The barbarian army will definitely attack in spring. They may all die, but I hope that fewer of them will die," the Rose of Death replied. This isn't your style, the cold-faced adjutant said to the Rose of Death. People change, the Rose of Death said expressionlessly. Yes, people change, the cold-faced adjutant agreed. After a pause, he said, the new festival has begun. Our Death Legion has been deprived of the position of Junior Marshal and Major General. They're afraid, the Rose of Death said. Yes, they're afraid. They're afraid that the position of young commander will fall to a prison slave soldier. This is something they can't tolerate. It can also be seen that they don't have confidence in the new generation. How can they win against the barbarian army like this? The cold-faced adjutant sighed. That's not what we care about. We only care about how to survive, the Rose of Death said indifferently. Yes, I hope I'll still be alive when winter comes next year. The cold-faced adjutant looked up at the sky with a sorrowful expression. On the barbarian suppression battle platform, the 18 battle platforms were in full swing. This was a grand event held once every 5 years. Within half a month, a young marshal and 8 major generals would be selected, and they would have the opportunity to replace the current 9 magnates in the future. In the entire army, only the Death Legion was disqualified. As long as the members of the other legions were not over 30 years old, they could challenge the Death Legion. Out of a large army of more than 100,000 people, at least 1/3 of them were young people under the age of 30, and there were more than 10,000 people participating in the challenge. These 10,000 people at least had a little confidence in themselves and a little strength, so they dared to participate. Not every one of these people wanted to win the position of young commander or major general. They wanted to use this challenge grand event to test what level they could reach. At the same time, it was a kind of training for themselves. Before this grand event, Fen Yaoyang, who was the most popular prospective young marshal, had indeed shown an invincible posture. He had basically swept all his opponents along the way. In addition, there were more than 10 people who were expected to reach the position of Major General. The biggest dark horse was an outsider who had just joined the army. This outsider was called Li Ziying. It was rumored that he was a district chief from the nearby Wolf Smoke mountain range. He had reached the advanced general realm before the age of 30, and he also had powerful combat skills that could shake top general realm experts. From the moment he appeared, he had won 7 battles in a row. In each battle, he defeated his opponent with one move. His attacks were even more ruthless, and they were basically murderous. With these 7 victories, Li Ziying gained a lot of popularity. In addition, Wan Lanxin also participated in this challenge grand event. Wan Lanxin had also reached the advanced general realm. Her spear skills were extraordinary, and she had defeated all her opponents along the way. Whether she could become a major general or not was not a question, but at least she could enter the top 100. While this flourishing age was in full swing, on a mountain near the purification pool, a young man was cultivating diligently. In the cold weather of early winter, this young man was running through the mountains bare-chested with a huge rock on his back. This young man was Shouho. He looked a little older, but in fact, he was only 19 years old, only 2 years older than Yang Wu. Shouho's strength had already reached the advanced warrior realm long ago, and he could carry at least 10 ding of strength. The rock on his back was estimated to weigh 10,000 kilograms, which was completely within his bearing range. However, it was extremely difficult for him to run. Every step he took made a deep pit in the ground, and sweat kept dripping from his face. His bearing force did not mainly come from the rock itself, but from the one-armed old man sitting on the rock. The one-armed old man's body was much weaker than the rock, but he sat on it as steady as a rock, motionless. He was Shouho's master, Zuo Yidao. Since Shouho became Zuo Yidao's disciple, he did not teach Shouho any martial arts, nor did he teach him any cultivation method. Because he knew that Shouho already had the cultivation method, he did not ask him to change it. He just wanted Shouho to keep refining his body. Shouho was exhausted by Zuo Yidao every day, and he had almost no time to rest. He had to face Zhuo Yidao's forced training at any time. Shou Ho's realm did not improve, but his strength was growing rapidly. Moreover, he was gradually able to control the awakening of the blood in his body. When Shou Ho finished a day's training, he threw the rock on his back out heavily. The rock, which weighed 10,000 kilograms, rolled far away like a meteor. After Shou Ho threw the rock, he wanted to lie down and rest, but when he saw his master appear in front of him indifferently, he immediately got into a horse stance and ran his own cultivation method to eliminate fatigue. At this time, the internal force in his body grew considerably, and his acupoints exploded like beans at this moment. Not only that, the internal force in his meridians twitched wildly, and his dantian seemed to have been hungry for a long time, crazily absorbing the heaven and earth xian qi from the outside world. Shou Ho's aura rose steadily, and finally, he steadily broke through to the top warrior realm. When Shou Ho finished his breakthrough, there was no surprise on his face. He bowed slightly to his master and said, "Thank you for your teachings, master. Well, it's good that you understand. The power that has been suppressing you, once released, will be of great benefit to your breakthrough," Zhuo Yidao said with appreciation. As for Shou Ho's breakthrough in such a short time, as his master, he was also very happy. However, if he knew that Shou Ho actually had the ability to break through to the general realm, who knew what he would think? Now, Shou Ho had opened a total of 365 acupoints. For an ordinary martial artist, once they reached this number, they would be able to condense profound armor and become a general in one fell swoop. However, Shou Ho did not do so because he remembered what Yang Wu had said to him. He had to break through 720 acupoints and open the 8 extraordinary meridians. This was the foundation of opening the martial body. Shou Ho believed Yang Wu's words without a doubt, so he suppressed his impulse to break through again. "Big brother, I will catch up with you as soon as possible." Shou Ho was full of confidence in himself. After his bloodline had awakened, the profound formula inside his body was circulating, and it was much smoother and more suitable for him than the profound formula that Yang Wu had passed on to him. This was also the reason why he was able to make breakthroughs in such a short time. Little He once said that Shou Ho was born with a fighting martial body and could become a god of war in the future. This was definitely not a lie, because the origin of the bloodline in Shou Ho's body was quite amazing. That's all for today. After tomorrow, I will teach you combat skills. You have to continue to work hard and strive to reach the general realm as soon as possible. Zhuo Yidao encouraged Shou Ho. Outside the military camp, several teenagers hurriedly emerged from the mountain range. The soldiers on guard surrounded them, but the leader of the teenagers showed his token and said proudly, "I'm Tang Chunqing, the 5th prince. Take us to see your marshal immediately." If Yang Wu were here, he would definitely recognize that these teenagers were the ones he had met in the mountain range. After the conflict with Yang Wu, they had wanted to leave the mountain range. But later, they encountered some things one after another, which made them gain something. The 5th prince had even broken through to the intermediate general realm, so his pride had soared to the sky. How could these soldiers dare to doubt the 5th prince's words? They hurriedly led them to the marshal's tent. On the way, Lin Qiqi saw a figure hurriedly passing by. She said in surprise, "It's him? Junior sister Lin, what's wrong?" The 5th prince asked when he saw Lin Qiqi stop. "Nothing. I just thought I saw someone who looked like Viscount Yang we met in the mountain range," Lin Qiqi said honestly. When the 5th prince heard the words, Viscount Yang, a ferocious look immediately appeared on his face. He said, "It better not be him. Otherwise, I will drag him out and tear him to pieces." He recalled that in the mountain range, he, a prince, was actually robbed. This was really a very sullen thing. "5th prince, let the past be the past," Lin Qiqi advised. She still felt a little guilty toward Yang Wu. Yang Wu saved her, but he was misunderstood by her companions, which led to some unhappiness later. She really did not want the 5th prince to kill Yang Wu. If I don't take revenge, I won't be able to vent the hatred in my heart," the fifth prince said firmly. Chapter 176. Lin Chichi didn't recognize the wrong person. The back she saw was indeed Yang Wu. Yang Wu's senses were outstanding, but he didn't pay attention. He also didn't think that the people he bullied would actually come to this military camp. At this moment, he was rushing to the Rose of Death's camp. "I don't know what's up with that girl. It's been a few days and she only remembered to see me. Could it be that she really doesn't have any feelings for me?" Yang Wu asked himself with deep thought. These few days, he and Lu Ji had worked hard for the Death Legion and were finally on the right track. However, the Death Legion didn't have any equipment, which was also a big problem. They would be at a great disadvantage once war broke out. Yang Wu was the vice commander, so he had to think of a way to upgrade his subordinates' equipment, right? Moreover, he had something he wanted to discuss with the Rose of Death. Yang Wu arrived in front of the Rose of Death's camp. This was like a lonely guardian camp, standing alone at the front of the army. Once war broke out, it would be the first to be attacked. Its owner would naturally be the first to guard this territory. Yang Wu couldn't help but feel a trace of heartache for the Rose of Death. The Grand Xia dynasty actually wanted a girl to guard the first checkpoint. It was truly too hateful. Yang Wu stepped into the camp. The Rose of Death was already waiting. Today, she didn't wear a veil, revealing her breathtakingly beautiful face. Her exquisite facial features seemed to have been carefully carved. Her hair was tied up simply, with a few strands of hair hanging down her forehead, adding a bit of liveliness to her cold face. She wore a set of black skin-tight clothes that tightly outlined her devilish figure. It was truly extremely seductive. Yang Wu was at the age where he was full of vigor. Seeing her like this, he couldn't control himself and stared at her blankly, unable to return to his senses. After a while, the Rose of Death said faintly, "Have you seen enough?" Yang Wu wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and answered honestly, "Not enough." The Rose of Death couldn't do anything about Yang Wu's shamelessness. She couldn't bring herself to kill him, so she could only let him be. "I called you here today because I have two things to tell you. The first is that the battle for the position of Major General and Major General is ongoing. You must restrain your subordinates and not let them go to the challenge stage to cause trouble. Our Death Corps is not qualified to participate. Anyone who causes trouble will be killed without mercy. The second is that we've received reliable news that after winter, the barbarian army will come south and wage an all-out war with our army. We must prepare for battle as soon as possible," the Rose of Death said clearly and concisely. "The cold adjutant has already told me about this. I know what to do." Yang Wu nodded. Yang Wu was still very unwilling. He also wanted to participate in the battle for the position of young marshal and major general. That way, he could openly obtain a military identity and return to Yunqing as soon as possible to hold his head high. However, the soldiers of the Death Corps couldn't participate in the battle for the position of Major General and Major General. This also meant that everything he did in the Death Corps wouldn't be recognized by the military. This was completely meaningless to him. These days, he had the idea of withdrawing from the Death Corps, but after a deep discussion with Lu Ji, he decided to continue staying. Lu Ji analyzed to him that although the Death Corps wasn't valued now, it didn't mean that they wouldn't be valued in the future. Once the Death Corps was nurtured into a team with full combat power and established a career on the battlefield, the Death Corps would become an indispensable part of the military. The military would naturally pay attention to them. Yang Wu felt that Lu Ji's analysis was reasonable and he also had his own ideas. This was also the reason why he had been so eager to see the Rose of Death. The Rose of Death was instantly speechless. In fact, she called Yang Wu over because she wanted to see him. Could she say it out loud? Ever since Yang Wu saved her and saw her naked, she had some feelings in her heart. She was an extremely traditional woman. After being seen naked, she naturally wanted to kill Yang Wu. In the end, she couldn't do it and wanted to use the barbarians to kill Yang Wu. However, Yang Wu was like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. He stubbornly survived. His continuous stunning performance attracted her attention, and she repeatedly made an exception to support him. She also didn't know why she did this. She only knew that she followed her heart. It wasn't until they reached the lonely peak and Yang Wu hugged her and licked her ear that her state of mind was completely messed up. She really had different feelings for him. It was very strange, and she couldn't put her finger on it. It was just that when she was cultivating, she would occasionally think of him and have an impulse to see him. It was because of this that she called Yang Wu over and told him some things that she didn't need to personally tell him. Originally, some of the matters were handled by the cold-faced adjutant. She was only a commander in name. Yang Wu saw the awkward silence and took advantage of the situation to say, "Commander, I have a very important matter to discuss with you." Yang Wu broke the awkward atmosphere first, allowing the Rose of Death to let out a sigh of relief. Otherwise, she really didn't know what to say. "I have a pill here for you." Yang Wu changed his method and took out a bone revitalization pill. The Rose of Death wiped away her confusion and took the bone revitalization pill. She carefully examined it and smelled the pill fragrance. "What kind of healing pill is this?" "The quality is very good and can be called a top-grade spirit pill. This is a bone revitalization pill. It can heal injuries and can also restore broken bones. It should also be effective for kings. See, I'm treating you well," Yang Wu said with a bit of flattery. "Don't be so talkative." "What do you mean?" The Rose of Death wasn't a 15 or 16-year-old girl. She wouldn't be so easily infatuated. "According to my understanding, our entire army doesn't have any medicine refiners, but we have soldiers injured every day. The large amount of healing pills in the army's inventory is scarce, and there are very few that have reached the spirit rank. Therefore, the number of soldiers retiring from the army due to injuries and even the number of deaths is at least 5,000 or even higher. Am I right?" Yang Wu asked with a serious expression. "Pretty much." The Rose of Death didn't know what Yang Wu was trying to keep her in suspense, and casually replied, "I'm saying, if our army has a medicine refiner who can provide pills for the army, what do you think the situation will be like?" Yang Wu hypothesized. The Rose of Death's beautiful eyes narrowed, and she shouted, "What if what you said is true?" "Answer my question first," Yang Wu said calmly. "If it's really as you said, then a medicine refiner can do whatever he wants in the army. He can have anything he wants. Even an important position in the army wouldn't be a problem," the Rose of Death said with certainty. This won't have any other impact on our army?" Yang Wu was startled. "If such a talent appears, do you think he'll stay in the Death Corps and throw his life away?" the Rose of Death asked in return. This time, Yang Wu understood. He nodded and said, "It's indeed as you said. It seems I was a bit naive." "What are you trying to do? Can't you be more straightforward like a man and finish it?" the Rose of Death said impatiently. "Whether or not I'm a man will only know after I try." Yang Wu ignored the Rose of Death's mood and said teasingly. However, he knew when to stop and quickly cut to the chase. "Actually, I'm a medicine refiner. As long as you give me the ingredients, I can refine pills endlessly. I didn't tell anyone but you. You must keep this a secret for me." Yang Wu obviously couldn't say that his little hay dog could refine pills. No one would believe him if he said that. However, the Rose of Death didn't believe him when he said he was a medicine refiner. She directly rolled her eyes at him. "Sister Rose, what's with that look? Let me tell you, don't look down on me. Refining pills and medicine is like playing with me." Yang Wu couldn't stand the Rose of Death's disdainful look and immediately patted his chest. "Then refine one for me to see. This can't be looked down on so easily. Refining pills is very sacred. It won't work if there's someone nearby." Yang Wu didn't know how to refine pills, so how could he demonstrate to the Rose of Death on the spot? However, the Rose of Death was still indifferent even when he guaranteed that he could refine pills. In the end, Yang Wu had no choice but to take out a bone revitalization pill and some healing pills that little Hay had refined for him to prove that he could refine pills. Who knew that the Rose of Death would sweep away all the pills he took out, leaving not a single one for him. Hey, I'm just showing them to you. I'm not giving them to you, Yang Wu said anxiously. I won't take them for free. I'll give you mystic spirit stones and a batch of ingredient. Consider it my exchange for you. A trace of pride appeared on the Rose of Death's face. She then continued, Didn't you say you knew how to refine pills? Aren't you afraid of running out of pills with the ingredients? Yang Wu opened his mouth but didn't have the strength to refute. His face was extremely gloomy as he scolded himself in his heart. Don't pretend for no reason. This is retribution. He rejoiced that he didn't take out the last resurrection pill. That was the most precious pill. Afterward, the Rose of Death made good on her words and took out several hundred low-grade mystic spirit stones and several hundred medicinal herbs for Yang Wu. Universe ring. Yang Wu exclaimed softly as he stared at an inconspicuous ring on the Rose of Death's ring finger. Don't you have a universe ring yourself? Don't make a fuss over nothing, the Rose of Death said. She paused for a moment before adding, If you can refine pills in batches, I can report it to the higher-ups and let you transfer to another military camp. You'll also receive their protection and won't be dealt with again. Forget it. I just hope you know that I can really refine large amounts of healing pills and spirit pills. Right now, I don't want too many people to know my identity. I want to do this in the name of the Death Corps. At the same time, I can ask for some military funds from the higher-ups so that my subordinates can live better, Yang Wu said sincerely. The Rose of Death looked at Yang Wu, who didn't seem to be faking it, and some ripples appeared in her heart. This young man wasn't a selfish and short-sighted person. He was broad-minded and far-sighted. Perhaps this place really couldn't trap him. One day, he would break through the shackles and look down on the 9 heavens.